What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I am here with Anthony and Mike, and we are discussing the amazingly awesome Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm so excited to talk about this movie. Y'all, okay, so Anthony and I have both seen it twice. We went together the first time, and then I went again last night, just kind of on a whim. And he and Michelle went to go watch it. Mike, you and your Michelle saw it last night, right? So
Thursday, yeah.
Okay, so initial thoughts, just like if someone were to come up to you right now and say, "What did you think about Spider-Man No Way Home?" What is the answer you would give?
I would say it was both amazing and spectacular.
I see what you did there.
Nice. What about you, Mike?
I would say that this movie it's kind of like you have to see it for yourself. There really aren't adequate words to describe how like certain parts of it, like how good they are and how mind-blowing they are and how surprising they are. Like, because it's all those things wrapped up in one. It's really something that's like you really need to see that for yourself. It was just like there were so many moments in there. It was just like, oh man, like it almost got hard to keep up at times, but then I was like, this is awesome. This is really good.
I think the two words that I keep repeating are fucking awesome, because I was like, literally, there's nothing else that I can't think of any other words to use to describe. Like, it's so up there for me.
I think you kept saying it's fucking amazing. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And seeing it the second time, it was even better the second time because I already knew certain things that were coming. So I was able to pay attention to other things that I may not have like paid attention to in the first one. And then also, I think for me, the theater that we went to go see it in on Thursday, it was a smaller theater. So it was at the Phipps Plaza. They have the really, really huge plush recliner seats. So we were comfortable, but it probably had maybe 100 seats in that theater. Maybe.
I don't even think it was that many.
I don't even think it was that much.
It may have been 40, 45.
I think it may have been a little bit more than that, but it was a very small group. So when the like major moments happened, you got the fan response, but it wasn't what I was expecting, given the amazing things that happened in the movie. So when I went last night, I went to my regular AMC theater that's right around the corner from my house. And I think that theater maybe holds probably about 300.
Yeah, it was the IMAX theater.
Yes.
So, yeah, it was huge.
All of the seats were full. And when I tell you the crowd reaction at certain points, I was like, I need to be recording this. So I only got one crowd reaction, but it was worth it. But the rest of it, I was like, I was too into it the second time to even think about, I need to be. Yeah, no, it was just.
Yeah, when we went, the audience, they were like chill and laid back, you know. But then last night at the IMAX theater, people were jumping up and cheering and screaming and crying.
That's the kind of reaction I wanted. And that's the first time that I've been in the theater since the pandemic happened where I got that kind of reaction since Endgame. So it was great. And I knew it was going to have that kind of reaction. So like I said, Thursday night, I was a little disappointed because it wasn't as big as I wanted. And then when I went last night, it's like people started like certain things, like they kind of anticipated. They were like, oh my God, is it? Oh my God. So it was great. It was great.
And the moments like of the audible crowd gasp.
Yes.
The entire scene at Ned's house, like the entire introduction of Andrew and Peter, like that whole scene is just full of gasps and like you could barely hear. It's a good thing that I think they planned the script for it, because when Andrew came through the first time before he took his mask off, everybody yelled and stuff. And after he took his mask off, he kind of paused for a second, and no one said anything for a good 4 or 5 seconds, so he could get through people yelling their heads off and screaming. And then when Peter came through looking like a youth pastor, everything.
You mean Toby?
When Toby came through looking like a youth pastor, there was another pause between there too. But I think like you were discussing before, we were talking before we came on that Peter got a big way. At some places Peter got a way bigger pop than Andrew did, and which is understandable because he was the one. He was the
Peter
first
and
one.
Andrew.
He means Toby.
I mean Toby. Golly.
It's just funny.
You know what you mean.
But
Toby
yeah,
got a way, but I mean, yeah, he got a way bigger pop than Andrew, but it's like because he was the first one of the newer series. So yeah, it was like, and everybody didn't think that they were going to see him again. And if you ask some people, he's like their favorite. Like he's a favorite even over Tom Holland still. So it's like that's still kind of understandable.
When he appeared, I swore the roof was going to fall in. People, because it was loud when Andrew Garfield came through, but when Toby came through, people lost their shit.
Man, like even now, I have goosebumps because those moments. Okay, so we're not going to talk about this in order.
Did you do a spoiler warning?
It'll. I think anybody who's watching this will know there's a spoiler warning, but I will put it in the text and the captions and the description. But obviously, we're probably not going to go in order, which is okay. But so as far as, let's just go ahead and get like all of the wow moments. So when they're sitting in Happy's condo, and they're talking about, what's going to happen with Peter, because of course, we pick up this movie where we left off with the last movie with Mysterio having outed who Spider-Man is. And so of course, Peter's having to deal with like some consequences about that. Of course, J. Jonah Jameson, he's like calling him the terror and a criminal and all this other stuff. So they've actually, the Department of Disaster Control, which I'm so glad they had that in there because we've been talking about it and discussing our other Marvel shows. We were, there has to be a department that deals with all of this stuff.
The Department of Damage Control.
Yeah,
Isn't that the same
control? Okay, yeah.
Isn't that the same one that was in the Vulture Spider-Man one? Yeah,
okay.
That's the same one.
I didn't remember.
And they're also in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They show up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well.
Okay. But yeah, so they show up at Happy's condo, which is where Peter and Aunt May are staying because of course their apartment has become unsafe because everybody knows where he lives. And they get taken in and, he's being questioned and everything. So he has to get a lawyer. And as soon as everybody saw that walking stick, everybody lost their shit in the movie theater. They were like, oh my God, it's not murder. Everybody lost
I literally stood up and said, let's fucking go. I was like,
I'm surprised he didn't jump up and say Kingpin confirmed.
I was close. It was that close. I mean, but yeah, I knew he was going to be in it because it's like I've heard that he was going to be in it playing Matt Murdock, probably not Daredevil. I was like, okay, I know he's going to be in it. But as soon as I saw him, I was like, that made me so happy. I mean, and then it's like him going through everything and Happy like stuttering through whatever defense he was going to have. Then the brick coming through.
Happy in this film. First time we see him, he's crying because Aunt May is breaking up with him. And then we see him and Matt's like, well, the charges against Peter are probably not going to stick. But you, on the other hand, because Happy stole the fabricator from Stark, from Avengers. Where was it? Was it being held at Avengers Tower? Or was that in Tony's place? Either way it goes, he kept it.
It's missing Stark technology. Like it's missing Stark tech. It's one unaccounted for thing that they can't find, and they're assuming that he has it.
Yeah. So poor Happy. He's just, I guess he was like, yeah, this is the one thing they don't need to get their hands on, which is cool. But it's so funny because when Matt showed up, I was surprised, but at the same time, I wasn't surprised. I think I would have been more surprised if Kevin Feige hadn't said anything a week before the movie came out that Charlie Cox will show up somewhere in the MCU. How could you not expect him in this film after that?
I mean, look at the whole timeline of Netflix stuff that Feige had, that Marvel has announced. Like first they announced that Daredevil was they were gonna bring Daredevil back. Mm-hmm. Then episode 5 of Hawkeye, for those who haven't heard, spoiler warning, came out and they showed Kingpin with Eleanor. And then Spider-Man debuts, and lo and behold, Matt Murdock is Peter Parker's lawyer. Mm-hmm. And he's out here catching bricks like nobody knows that he's Daredevil.
Catching bricks.
I mean, literally, he caught the brick, and even Peter was like,
"How'd you do that?"
He's like, "I'm a very good lawyer."
Okay.
How'd you do that?
He protects his clients. Client protection is high on his list of priorities. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So he protects his clients against flying bricks. That same Mephisto was. I'm sorry, not Mephisto.
Did you really bring Mephisto up already? We haven't even been talking for 5 minutes.
I'm sorry, okay, Mysterio was right. Forgive me. I'm so sorry. I don't know how that happened.
I think part of the reason he shows up, in addition to the Kingpin thing, is they're trying to also build momentum for their Disney Plus shows.
Yeah.
Especially Echo. And we all know they said Charlie Cox is going to show up in She-Hulk. So they're trying to build up. That's why the cameo is only like a minute or two. They're building up that momentum for all that.
Well, I think it worked, because when I tell you, people in the theater lost their shit,
yes, sir.
Yeah. And he was like you said, he was I won't say the lesser character that we expected. I don't want to say it in that way, but people have been speculating about Toby and Andrew for months. Okay. And
they're like, they're on set, but they don't know. People don't know if it's redirection. Because even with Charlie Cox, when they announced Charlie Cox, they said, well, he may show up, but he may not even be Matt Murdock, because they want to act like the Netflix Marvel properties never happened. Mm-hmm. So, this is one of those things you sort of expect it, but then you don't want to get your hopes up.
Yeah, but it's like the whole cat's out of the bag now. It's like, I mean, I'm waiting to see how they're going to put Jessica Jones and Luke Cage in there, because there has to be a way they're going to edge them in. Because it's like they basically opened up Pandora's box now, so you can't really close it. Mm-hmm. I mean, the only thing that's going to be kind of weird is to see if they're going to recast Danny Rand or what they're going to do about Iron Fist. But it's neither here nor there.
But do we want to go into no, let's not go there yet. Let's not go to the other Spider-Man. Let's talk about what's happening here. So anyway, as we stated, everything picked up at the end of the last film. Peter Parker's identity has been out, and of course this causes some issues with MJ and Ned, because they are now guilty by association, because of course what everybody thinks is that, well, not everybody, but most people think that Peter Parker or Spider-Man was the one who killed Mysterio by using Stark Tech. So this launches an investigation. There are some people who don't believe it, and they're still behind Peter and Spider-Man. There are some people who believe it, and they're causing issues. One of the things that happens is that they all 3 of them, they decide to apply for colleges, because of course this is their senior year. So they all submit applications to MIT, and there's a point where Peter talks about having a backup school, I guess, a school in Boston. And he was like, yeah, if that happens, then, it'll be a chance to start over, start fresh, that sort of thing. And you could tell MJ is kind of like, she doesn't want to get her hopes up for MIT, but she has this saying of, what is it? Expect disappointment, and then you'll never be disappointed. Mm-hmm. So what happens is they get their letters for MIT, and they all go to MJ's job so that they can open the letters and read them. And of course, immediately when they're opening their letters and they're reading them, that they have not been accepted. Now, we don't know what the letters say until Ned reads his out. And basically the letter says, due to,
recent events, we are unable to consider your application at this time.
Right. Okay.
They did them dirty.
Hold up. Looks like we got Kacey coming in.
Oh, Sookie now.
Player 4 has entered the game. Player 4 has entered the game. Hey,
what's
Kacey?
up?
How are you?
I'm at a housewarming party, but I popped in just so I could say that movie was so good. I enjoyed it. Everything from beginning to end. All the cameos. I was so surprised to see Daredevil. I was like, I'm the only one in the theater making a whole bunch of noise talking to the screen, but it was okay.
How did that happen?
But we went at like 10 in the morning.
Oh,
so
okay.
Everybody was still sleeping tired.
But okay.
I enjoyed it thoroughly. I saw Hanako. I saw you and Anthony's. Hold on, I gotta go a little quiet. I saw you and Anthony's thing talking about watch What If. So I'm gonna go watch that so I can kind of understand the final credits a little better.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Still a really good movie. I can't wait till they make another one so I can see what happened because the love story is. I shed a tear. But still, it was good. We're going back to see it actually, probably sometime this weekend. So
okay,
very good. I will be back on the podcast when y'all do it again with Lori. So I'm not gonna listen to what y'all saying, but I just want to pop in and let y'all know.
All right,
it was great. So
well, thank you for popping in. Bye.
Thanks for that cameo appearance. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, I won't listen until we talk about it again.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye.
Okay, that was fun. We had our own cameo appearance.
That was pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah, so anyway, so they get the letters to MIT. They haven't gotten in, and the letter says, due to recent events or recent circumstances or something, we cannot,
consider your application at this time.
Yeah, and
that was so messed up
because Peter feels guilty now because he's like, wait, I didn't do anything wrong, and you guys definitely didn't do anything wrong. This is not fair. And of course, they all look disappointed, but MJ, she just kind of brushes it off like, it's okay, expect disappointment and you'll never be disappointed. And, it's one of those things that sucks because, here comes Flash Thompson with his MIT sweatshirt on because he apparently has gotten in. That kid, he annoys me.
No, the funniest line, Ned goes, yeah, because we're actually Spider-Man's friends.
Right. Because Flash in this film, we see him at the beginning. And of course, the first few part, I guess like maybe the first 20 minutes of the film, that actually takes place over a span of months. Because you can see Flash's, his hair has changed. He has changed. We start out part of the movie first day of senior year, and then when they get the letters to MIT, I think it's a couple of months later. And because it has to be like November because MJ's boss is telling her to take down the Halloween decorations. So when all of this stuff hits about Peter Parker and Spider-Man, first day of school, first day of senior year, Flash Thompson has written a book talking about how he is Peter Parker's BFF. I was like, aren't you the same kid that bullied him? Like, really? And then, of course, this whole thing comes up and he's like, wait, you guys didn't get in? And that's when Ned was like, no, because we are actually friends with Spider-Man. He's like, oh, yeah, I got to go to this mixer for new students. Sorry, guys. And he gets out the door.
A little capitalizing.
Oh my God, he's so irritating.
Speaking of the first day of school, JB Smooth.
Yes, we got to talk about that.
Coach,
we got to talk about that.
And Mr. Harrington, and I forgot the coach's name. They were hilarious, especially
Hannibal Buress.
He was like, I know what you did. I know what you did.
That mess was funny because when Peter comes into the school, he's greeted by the principal and the coach and the teacher, and they're like, the principal is like, Peter, we would like to welcome you back to. I was like, why is he talking like that? It just sounded so weird. And of course, the teacher is like, I can't remember his name. They have, you know how you have in the schools, they have like the glass display cases at the front.
The award cabinet.
And it has the awards and everything. So the whole cabinet was nothing but Peter Parker and Spider-Man stuff. He was like, yeah, some of the students wanted to put this together. You were the main one who did it. I helped. And all the while, the principal and the teacher are sitting there like, you know, they're being fanboys basically, because the principal was like, you know, if you need to run off to class, or you know, if you need to swing to class, or if you want to, you know, crawl on the ceiling to class to avoid everybody. I was like, do we as fangirls and fanboys, is that how we sound?
Yeah.
Is that how we sound?
It is.
Yes, we do.
Yes, it is. It really is.
I think we sound cooler than that, though.
No,
we don't.
Maybe that's just y'all. I don't think I sound like that. But
and Hannibal Buress is over there. You did it. We know what you did.
Mysterio was right.
Conspiracy theorist.
Right.
Did you notice the parallels with Hawkeye, where everything says Thanos was right, and then all through the movie you kept seeing Mysterio was right.
Mysterio was right.
Like,
speaking of Hannibal, did you see the Rogers the Musical billboard?
Yes, they were everywhere.
They were everywhere.
Yeah, we need to get into. We need to talk about that for a second. So, like, apparently that's taking place somewhere. It can't be Christmas. It was Halloween. So Rogers the Musical has been running for a minute.
Well, I mean, most Broadway musicals do. I mean, think about how long Hamilton has been on Broadway. So, and it's supposed to be kind of like it's
a popular one.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be on there for a
it's
while.
probably been out there for a while, because I don't remember what the timeline is for Spider-Man. What was the Far From Home? But I know this was like a few months after everything that happened in Endgame. So I think the stuff in Spider-Man is taking place like maybe a whole year before the events in Hawkeye. At least that's the way I'm thinking it, because Hawkeye is supposed to be like 18 months removed from the events of Endgame. And the stuff with Peter, I think, takes place right after that. So yeah.
I got to look it up, but it seems like it was taking place like they're trying to say it took place like 2 months before, because remember she was talking about, well, no, maybe you're right, because remember Yelena in episode 5 was talking about seeing the redone Statue of Liberty, and that was with the Shield apparently. So, but that got knocked down. So
a shield on the Statue of Liberty, that was so awesome.
Yeah.
So,
but then that makes me think you're right, because during the fight, of course, they knock it down. So they have to put it back up and reattach and do all this other stuff. So they couldn't. There's no way they're doing that in 2 months. So
no,
you're probably right. They probably there's no chance that they're going to fix how they destroyed all the scaffolding and everything else in like 2 months. So that's what you're saying. So it is probably like at minimum a year and a couple months between this and that.
Yeah, and then you have to think about it. So we'll go ahead and say this now. The second end credit scene in the movie was the actual trailer for Doctor Strange.
Oh my God.
Multiverse of Madness. And I'm starting to think that maybe those events also will take place before when Hawkeye is supposed to take place, because again, reading the article from I think it was one of the producers or directors, he says that Hawkeye actually takes place in I think it's December 2023. So I think the Endgame stuff was supposed to be like 2021, 2022. So yeah, there's some, I'm going to have to go online and look, but it's one of those things where it's kind of like the timeline is actually past where we are in present day.
What's interesting is when they showed, spoiler, Aunt May's gravestone, they had the second year, the year for death, was blocked by a flower.
Yep, it was.
So
we don't know.
You to know
what year
it is.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, even on Natasha's grave in Black Widow, we didn't see a year. So yeah. So they're keeping us in the dark. But I think that kind of works, because from what I understand, I read an article, and I think Doctor Strange was actually supposed to come out before No Way Home. And then because of the pandemic, they had to change some things around. And that's why they ended up switching it, similar to Black Widow as well. Because remember, Black Widow, Valentina was supposed to make her debut in Black Widow. And then we were supposed to see her in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And it kind of got flipped because Falcon and the Winter Soldier got released first. So, they've had to do some creative things because of COVID. So that might have confused things a little bit. But yeah, I think it's safe to say that all of this stuff with Peter and Spider-Man happens before, and that will also kind of, I think it may also explain some other things that happen as far as Hawkeye goes, because what happens at the end of this movie, and again, we're not talking in order, so we're going back and forth. Peter has Dr. Strange create a spell so that everyone forgets that Peter Parker ever existed. And I love the way that they really did pay attention to subtle details behind that fact, because at the end, when we see Peter moving into his own apartment and he gets ready to go out as Spider-Man, he has the homemade suit, or he has the suit that he created. He doesn't have any of the Stark suits anymore, because technically speaking, that means that Tony Stark wouldn't have known who he was either. And that made me so sad to think that all those people that he fought alongside with and everything, that they don't even remember who he is. Like I'm guessing they still know the Spider-Man persona, but as far as who Spider-Man was, like, Tony would have never made that visit to him. As far as
it wasn't time. It didn't affect time. The Dr. Strange said that. He said, we can't do the time thing, but we can make everyone forget currently. So it's not like this. It's not like he never existed. They just forget he ever existed.
It's kind of like a mystical Men in Black kind of pen light thing.
Yeah,
basically, like he
it's not
basically
as if he never
everybody.
existed. It's as if they just forget he exists.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if
it doesn't make, it's not going to make it. It's not going to make it where Tony Stark never knew, because Tony Stark is dead. So it's not going to make the suits go away, because it doesn't affect retroactively time-wise.
But then why does he not have any of the other suits?
Well, the suit's damaged. So who's going to get to fix it?
But he had more than one suit from Stark.
He had one from Stark, the armor with the nanobots, and then he had the one that he made in the fabricator. But they're kind of damaged. So, but the thing about it is supposed okay. You really want to get, if we really want to talk about it, what they're doing is they got their because of the deal they made with Disney. Sony is going to make their own movies with Tom Holland.
Okay.
That are outside of the MCU. Okay. But the MCU and Disney and Marvel, they get to use Tom Holland and Spider-Man in their stories. Okay. But the two are not going to be connected. That was part of their deal. So he's going to have a different suit for those three movies. They don't want him to look like he does in the MCU. Okay. That makes sense. So pretend the suits are damaged and he can't wear them. And he, goes back to being the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He makes his own suit. So now we're probably going to get, in the Sony movies, we're going to get him in his homemade suit. We're going to get Gwen Stacy. We're going to get, all those things that we know and love about Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He's going to work for the Daily Bugle. He's going to have Jonah Jameson, all that stuff. So that's what we're going to see now from the Sony movies. Okay.
I think I'm looking forward to that because, because J. Jonah Jameson is basically the InfoWars guy now. For Alex, Alex
Jones.
Alex Jones. He's basically Alex Jones now with all the conspiracy. They showed him at first in his basement with all the conspiracy notes on his wall, and now it's the way he talks, where he's yelling and doing all sorts of stuff. I'm like, that's literally an older version. That's Alex Jones's dad.
When when we went Thursday and everybody saw what he was at, the desk and everything behind. When I tell you, the theater chuckled so much about the fact that he's like literally sitting in his basement spewing out conspiracy theories. Everybody had such a laugh about that. I was just like, it was just a weird reaction. I wasn't expecting people to have that much of a reaction to it. But yeah, that dude gets on my nerves. I hate it.
I mean, just imagine like Peter is sending in like TikTok videos of him seeing of him filming himself, because like in the cartoon he webbed up his camera and took pictures of himself swinging and stuff. Even in the first Spider-Man movies,
right?
Like he did that. So it'll be interesting to see him making 15-second TikToks of him swinging by saving people, then going to get it. And like selling them to Joan, and like sending them to Jonah Jameson, sending them to JJ,
because he's got to have that rent is due at the first of the month.
Exactly. Where does my rent, Parker? Where does the rent?
Sounds like this did not sound like the same guy from.
It did.
It sounded like him, yeah.
And that was the same apartment, which looks like almost the same apartment he had in the comic book, especially when he got the symbiote. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we need to talk about the symbiote because I have.
It's not a theory.
We're not talking.
I have theories.
That yet.
No, we're not talking about that. I have theories about the symbiote when we get to it. So
we're not talking about
all
that
good.
yet. No, we're not talking about that yet. We still have a whole bunch of other stuff to talk about. Oh my goodness!
So to answer your question, so to respond to your statement,
right?
No, the suits are he's just not going to use those suits.
Okay.
And besides, and now that maybe the nanobots. Maybe they were part of forgetting he was Peter Parker, because then he can't put the suit on because the suit would just be like, I don't know who you are.
Right. So Tony Stark is not there, but his technology is still there. And, his technology is very intelligent. The technology.
It was interesting when he had on the nano suit, it was like he couldn't connect to the network. So facial recognition was unavailable. Start network was unavailable, so he's running around trying to find the woman because he was not connected to the network anymore.
Right.
When he was fighting Doc Ock.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So as a result of this whole thing with with what happens with MIT turning down or declining all of their applications, while he's sitting there in that restaurant. Again, the Halloween decorations are up, and one of the Halloween decorations kind of looks like a bloated Doctor Strange, and he's like, oh, okay. He goes to see Doctor Strange and basically asks him, he wants to make people forget that he's Spider-Man, because of course he's like, it's ruining my life, it's ruining the lives of everybody else, who's associated with me. I just don't want them to be penalized for knowing me. That's basically what he was trying to say, because Doctor Strange did ask a very valid question. He was like, so you want me to, he said, we basically already did a spell to bring everybody back who was blipped, and now you want me to do a spell to fix your life because you can't get into college. Like, when you say that.
Yeah, he asked. He was like, "So what? Did you already talk to the admissions people?" He was like,
Yeah, but that was afterwards. That was after.
I thought you said that before.
Okay. That was after that was after the spell. So basically, what Doctor Strange does is he starts to construct a spell that is going to make everybody forget that he is Spider-Man, that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And then in the midst of this, Peter is like, "Oh wait, hold up. Yeah, so that means my girlfriend won't remember that I'm Spider-Man, and that's gonna make, it was gonna make things kind of difficult for him." I'm paraphrasing. So Doctor Strange tries to alter that, and then he starts thinking, oh wait, Ned, oh wait, Aunt May, oh, and the spell starts to go haywire, because Doctor Strange tells him, messing with this spell while I'm in the middle of doing it, it can have some disastrous consequences.
Basically, shut the fuck up, Peter.
Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's almost done with the spell, and then Peter says, basically, everybody who knows that I'm Spider-Man, they can remember. And the spell kind of goes haywire. You start to see a crack in the fabric. I'm gonna tell you, Anthony and I were sitting there trying to figure out, like, who was that? There was like somebody specific in the sky when it cracked open before he was able to contain the spell. when I went to look at it again yesterday, it almost looked like Venom to me because it was a figure with a tail. And I was like, but
well, I think some people who actually paid attention to it more than I did, obviously, said they saw Rhino in it.
Pay attention to it more than Hanako? Is that what you're about to say?
than I did personally. So they saw. I think that's the part you see. It was that one where it said they think they saw Rhino in there somewhere, and they said
later.
they think
that was later.
That was later. Was that the one? Okay, never mind.
Yeah, that was one thing.
Yeah, there was one figure that you could see
Rhino,
at this
Scorpion.
particular time.
But this one, it was just one figure.
Just one figure outlined in white, and you could clearly see a tail. And I was sitting there like, so
like a devil's tail?
No.
No.
Yes, Mephisto confirmed.
No, definitely not.
I'm with Hanako. I think it was more probably Venom than anything. Especially
or one of the versions of Venom. So
what we know about the symbiote now, what we have learned about the symbiote for the most part, or speculate. No theories, speculation.
Sure.
So Doctor Strange, basically he contains the spell. He starts fussing at Peter, but then at the same time, he says, you know what? He says, I have to remember that even with everything that we've gone through together, you were still a kid. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, no, Peter's not going to be expected to think about this in a more grown-up way. He's a child. He's a senior in high school. So having his friends remember who he is and being able to get into college, those are the things that are kind of important to him right now, right? So then that's when Dr. Strange says, yeah, I mean, if you got declined for college and you talked to them about reconsidering, blah, 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 then, maybe this was the only way. And Peter was like, wait, you mean talking to them about, saying no? Like, I could have done that. And Dr. Strange was like,
you didn't.
You didn't do that before you asked me to do a spell that brainwashes the entire world? He was like, well, when you put it that way, I was like, yeah, this is going to be disastrous. So
I want to talk about that just for a second. That's the one thing that we kept being reminded of every time he's in a movie is how young he is, and that he's a kid. And it's easy to forget that. Like Ned, when we see Ned cannot stop talking. Once Ned starts talking, he can, and Peter is the same way.
Oh my God,
kids, and you realize they just can't help themselves. They don't know anything.
Especially Ned. Oh my God, I'm flashing back to the scene where they were interrogating him, and he was literally telling everything. I'm surprised he didn't tell them Peter's blood type the way he was. I was like, bruh. I was just like, shut up. Even in like scenes, like later scenes when he's with MJ, and he's like talking and just like, shut up. Like Ned's a good, like, he's a good friend, but he's the friend that you don't tell him. If you want something to keep secret, you don't tell. Just don't even mention it around him because he just unconsciously just spills and spews stuff that he's not supposed to be telling. Like that whole thing, I was just like, bruh. Like poor Peter. Like Peter has no idea that Ned just sold him up the river unintentionally. Like damn. Like, and it's like it seems like when he talks, he just can't turn it off. Like he just starts talking, and all of a sudden it just goes vroom, 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 like just comes out, and he just can't stop himself. It was like, bruh.
MJ was funny in that scene because she was like, "I know my rights. Y'all need to give me a lawyer. I'm not telling you anything." And then she would look at the person behind the glass. Like, hi. And Aunt May, when I tell you that dude, when he was like, yeah, you're gonna need to lawyer up, he was at, what did he say? Child endangerment. Child endangerment is a serious offense, and this person has been placed in your care. You're the guardian, basically his mother, and you're allowing this stuff to happen. I thought she was going to reach across the table and punch him. Like, she looked so mad, and then she was like, I need to see Peter right now. I mean, they just kept messing with them, and it was so funny when they came in and Peter saw them, MJ and Aunt May both at the same time. Don't say anything without your lawyer. I was like, oh, they both sound very mothering right now. That's weird. But
he has, but Peter kept making decisions throughout the movie that a kid would make. They were all bad decisions. Kept doing
he had
the
right intentions, but it just, you have to.
The road to hell is paved
with good intentions. Yeah, it is.
Yes, sir.
It is. But I mean, because of his bad decisions, we got some really awesome people to show up in this movie. So that was great.
But all could have been avoided with a knock on the door at MIT admissions and a talk.
He was in panic mode. He was just in panic mode. It's one thing for him to be declined because of everything that's going on, but to have that touch other people that you care about just because they're associated with you, that wasn't fair. And he wasn't thinking straight. I mean, think about it. Us being at that age, they're supposed to be around 16, 17, maybe 18. We wouldn't think that clearly either. I mean, this kid, like Dr. Strange said to Wong, hasn't this kid been through enough? He's been blipped. He's had to watch his mentor die. He's had to fight an alien, like he told Spider-Man 2, on Earth and in space. He's dealt with a lot. He's not going to think clearly.
Also, in this scene, in the scene where he ask Doctor Strange to do the spell, they changed it from the trailer, where in the trailer Wong says don't do it, and Strange says I'm not going to do it, and then he walks through the portal, he looks at Peter and winks. He doesn't do it in the movie. In the movie, Wong, because Wong was the default Sorcerer Supreme now, because Strange got blipped, Wong looked at him, he was like, I don't know, I know nothing, I'm just going to turn my back.
He's like, leave me out of it.
Hold on, that line shows up again later. Like that whole dialogue shows up in the Doctor Strange trailer. So maybe they use dialogue from Strange and they put it in this I'm thinking maybe they were mixing dialogue from two different movies.
And also, I mean, Occam's razor, they probably just did it to get people like me to say that it's Mephisto. Mephisto's doing all this stuff, that Doctor Strange is actually Mephisto. And I've seen, when that trailer dropped, everybody was like, he's acting weird. Like, maybe that's not Strange. Maybe it's actually Mephisto.
Yeah.
And it's literally they probably did it to throw everybody off, because the way it's crafted is directly parallels the Spider-Man run where Mephisto changed everything and Spider-Man had to deal with him. So the whole thing mirrored that. So they were really playing off of it, going off of WandaVision supposedly having Mephisto and not having it, and Mephisto just kind of drifting in everyone's mind like he's going to show up sooner or later. But I think they did that shit on purpose.
I need to go back and watch WandaVision to find out where the hell did this Mephisto shit come from. I swear it was probably some YouTuber on the very edge of YouTube popularity mentioned it in a video, and it's like everybody ran with it. And if you watch WandaVision, there's no basis for Mephisto being confirmed. But anyway, that's not what I'm going to talk about today. This is not. I just had this conversation with a person who I live with, I'm related to by marriage, about they put all these Easter. Oh, was that you, Hanako?
I think you probably had it with both of us.
I probably had it with both of y'all. They put all these Easter eggs and all these things, not thinking that people just take it and just run with it.
Oh yeah, we had that conversation in the car.
No,
yeah.
No. They absolutely
yes. No. Me, yes. They did.
People, they do that with knowing good and damn well that people such as myself will take Easter eggs and run a marathon with them, because that's what we do. That's exactly what we do. We see one thing, we like, oh, there's a tiger. Craven, wait, was that a lion walking across the street? Craven confirmed. Craven's one of the Sinister Seven. And it's like, and people will run with it. They know us, and it's fine. I can live with them manipulating my mind. It's fine.
They know.
It's all for you, Mike. It's all for you.
I accept it. I accept it humbly and with an open heart. Thank you. Thank you.
When Hanako and I walked into Phipps Plaza to see a movie, and we saw the store, Mephisto.
There is a store
oh my God,
named Mephisto right up under AMC.
Right under AMC.
I looked at it. I said, Ed, look. He was like, oh Lord. I said, I gotta take a picture. I gotta send it to my
I hear they're really good shoes though.
I thought
Foot comfort confirmed. I think that's their motto.
Oh goodness. Oh, okay. And so for the people,
I don't know why we ended on this.
No, that's okay. And for the people who are watching this on YouTube, who are like, "What is she doing?" Because I had to get up from my desk. My cats are in here wreaking havoc while I'm trying to record, and one of them was trying to swallow a hair tie hole. So I had to kind of get that out of her mouth. So yeah, that's what I deal with when I'm podcasting. My 3 fur babies acting up. But anyway, let's talk about the people who showed up. So basically what happens is when Doctor Strange casts the spell and Peter comes in and says, basically everybody who knows that I'm Spider-Man, they can remember. So what happens is the spell kind of goes haywire. You kind of see a crack in the fabric of our reality, which means the sky starts to open up and you start to see things like trying to come through from other dimensions, other multiverses, other whatever. And Doctor Strange is able to contain the spell, but apparently some things got through. And what happens is anybody in any universe that is aware of the fact that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, they're pretty much coming through. And so what happens is Peter goes to try to find the MIT lady as she's on her way to the airport so that he can kind of plead the case for MJ and Ned. And while he's talking to her, people on the bridge start turning around and they're running. And he's like, hey, what are you guys running for? And you start hearing a boom, boom. So he jumps on top of the SUV. He he activates his suit, and here comes Doc Ock, which we already knew that this was going to happen on this bridge because we've seen it in the trailer. The fan reaction was still amazing because everybody's like, yay, people started cheering, which is cool. So they have a little back and forth. They're fighting. Doc Ock at some point, Peter takes off his mask and Doc Ock is like, you're not Peter Parker.
No, he rips off the chest plate of the armor.
Yeah.
Right.
And then he incorporates the nanobots into his thing.
That was so cool. That was so cool. Everybody in the movie theater went, ooh.
Yeah. And then he was gonna stab Peter in the chest, but the suit, the nanobots created a chest plate and it pulled away his mask.
Okay.
Because they rearranged to create a chest plate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was when he was like, you're not Peter.
And Peter was like, I'm so confused right now. But then that's when the funny thing happens because the tentacles on Doc Ock's back, they start acting weird. And he's like, what's going on? And apparently the Stark technology in his suit, I guess it was the Bluetooth, they recognized the new device and connected to it. So Peter was able to control the tentacles. And
the Bluetooth link up. I was like, no, it's just like walking into someone's house and the Bluetooth automatically connects. And he was like, what are you doing? Stop that. And he was like, oh.
Don't listen to him. Listen to me. Don't listen to him.
And the fact that Peter was being so goofy with it, it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, he's a superhero, but he's also a child. He's sitting there like, hi. It was, we always talk about the humor that we get in these shows, and the humor in this movie was fabulous. It was fabulous. From that scene to the scene later with all 3 of the Spider-Men together, it was hilarious. Those scenes were crazy. But anyway, so Peter is in control of the tentacles, and he lifts all of them back up because at this point, during all the fighting, the MIT lady who has been locked in her SUV because the driver, I guess, had the child safety locks engaged, and then when everything started happening, he took off. And she was stuck in the vehicle. Of course, the vehicle gets ready to go over the bridge. Peter has to save her. And so they're all back on the bridge, and Otto is trying to get an understanding of what's happening. And this is after the MIT lady tells Peter, "You're a superhero." I was like, no shit, Sherlock. Did you not know this already? But of course,
right, where have you been?
She was one of the people that believed all the mess that Mysterio said. So she gives him her word that I'm going to talk to the admissions people about your friends and about you. Just keep your nose clean and you'll have a second chance. So just after she says this, as she gets out of the car to go fuss at Doc Ock because what he did wasn't cool. I was like, yep, that's a black mama.
She was like, first of all.
She went into black mama mode right there. But then we start hearing the giggling. We see the little bomb come up, and here comes the Green Goblin.
And once again, everybody lost their shit.
Yeah. Like it's almost like as the cameos start coming, the crowd reaction starts getting louder and louder and louder. So he shows up, causes some mayhem, blah, blah, blah. And something happens right before Peter gets ready to engage with him. Like you kind of see the screen change, and he's back in Doctor Strange's dungeon, and Otto is in some kind of magical cell, but then also in a cell is oh, my mind just went blank. What's the lizard guy's name?
Oh, Dr. Connor.
Yeah. The lizard.
Yes.
The lizard.
He's also in the cell too. So Doctor Strange explains to Peter about what happened with the spell. Yeah, when you said that everybody who knows that Peter Parker is allowed to remember that, you basically meant that for the entire universe. So in any number of universes where there's a Peter Parker who is Spider-Man, anybody who already knows that information, they've started coming here. And, these are a couple of the people who kind of slipped through. And that's when the multiverse is kind of mentioned for the first time. And Peter is like, wait, the multiverse is real? And I'm sitting there like, kid, you have no idea. So what Doctor Strange tasks Peter to do is he creates this gauntlet for him. And the gauntlet, anytime he shoots at something, it will transport the person from where they are into one of the cells in Doctor Strange's dungeon, basement, whatever you want to call it. And once he gets them all together, he's going to make a device to send them all back to where they came from. So Peter goes out to look for Green Goblin and instead finds Sandman and Electro. And it's funny because, of course, Electro is there and he's like gathering all the energy from the power grid. Oh, let me mention this before I get into that. The far off shot of Peter doing his swinging in the woods, that reminded me of like old Spider-Man cartoon type stuff. I was like, why do I feel like this is familiar? I mean, just the way he was moving and the way he was curling his body, it just felt like something I remember from my childhood. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Okay. But I noticed throughout this movie, they pulled a lot of different things from a lot of different, like they pulled some stuff from comics, they pulled some stuff from other Marvel movies. It's kind of like, of course, with them bringing in Toby and Andrew, they were paying homage to those other Spider-Man properties, but I like the way they did it overall because you could see them pulling throughout the whole movie, from different things. But I just thought that was cool. Now, I did not watch the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. One of the reasons was when he first got cast, I was one of those people that was like, why are they already rebooting Spider-Man? They didn't need to do that. You know how we get nowadays. Like, why are they?
Wait, did we already tease you and chastise you about this? I'm
Yes,
trying to
you
remember.
did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Okay,
But I will say
I'm
this.
just making sure.
I
Having
will
said
say
that, again, really?
I will take it. But the thing is, like I said, I think I said this when we were talking about Hawkeye. My daughter, when she found out that I hadn't watched those movies because she has not watched the Tom Holland movies, she was like, wait, you have to watch this, because we were talking about the whole Gwen Stacy thing. And I was like, I heard that she died, but I don't know the specifics. So she shows me the clip on YouTube of her specific death. And I was like, that's horrible. Like, why would they do that? But
that whole movie was dark as all get out.
The Andrew Garfield's
really
version
dark.
of Peter is really dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just watching him react to what happens to her, like when I watched that clip, I was like, okay, I can see him as Peter Parker. Like, okay, I think I'm gonna go back and watch. I think I'm gonna go and watch these movies. I didn't get a chance to watch them before I got to, before No Way Home came out. So what I did was that day before I went to the movies, I went to YouTube and I watched one of those recaps, like Spider-Man 1 recap in 10 minutes. So I got the gist of what happened in those two movies. And then of course I watched No Way Home, and I gotta say, his performance in No Way Home is gonna make me go watch those movies. But anyway, I was saying that to say Electro looks very different in No Way Home than he did in the Spider-Man movies. And I think, Anthony, you and I were talking about that because you said that was one of the major complaints people had about his character, was the way that they made him look.
The way they had him have that blue skin, and he just looked weird and funky, and people really didn't like that for the most part. And that was one of the reasons why people didn't really care for the movies. Mm-hmm. The character just didn't look right.
Okay.
But see, the whole thing is, they can't win with that character. It's like they tried to make him different. They didn't like him. So, okay, we'll just make him look like a normal person. Then we'll give him a cool suit and all that stuff. And this movie, and they're like, wait, but you changed it from that movie. They're like, you didn't like that part, so we changed him. And they're like, wait, but we still don't like him. They really want him to be in green and yellow spandex. That's exactly what they want.
Well,
with the sparky mask. That's exactly what they want.
Okay, I'm gonna come back. I haven't been here in a while. I'm gonna get my soapbox. Right. So, first of all, we have to separate those who don't like it when their white character is cast with a black person. Mm-hmm. So we have that part of it. I do agree that the first time he's on screen in Amazing Spider-Man, yes, it looked terrible. I didn't like it, and it was just because you could have just made him look regular. So then I was thinking, well, maybe they did it because he was black, because they made him look funky during the movie, with the messed up teeth and the comb over. Mm-hmm. You didn't have to do all that. So it's almost like, well, this is going to sound really, really bad, but they sort of made him like a Stephen Fetchit character. And I don't like that. I didn't particularly care for that. And that's just me. Mm-hmm. I didn't like that. Then I didn't like that. Okay, well, he was black, but then you changed his color. You made him blue. So, okay, whatever. But now here, they have Jamie Foxx in all his wondrous glory. They put a suit on him and give him powers. Fine, perfect. So, of course, the same group that didn't like him being casted in the beginning are still not going to like him because he's a black person cast in a white character. You're never going to win with those people. Ever.
No, you're not. And it's just like when they cast Bokeem Woodbine as the Shocker in the other Spider-Man, they were complaining about that too. I mean, it's like, to be honest, I got to stand up for the first Electro in the first movie. I thought it was weird, but I got to be honest, I actually kind of liked that. I actually kind of dug how they did it. I actually kind of liked it. And now I think I'm probably alone. I'm just like the people who like the Ben Affleck Daredevil. It's like I'm kind of standing on an island by myself. But I actually kind of, and you're on an island by yourself.
I know.
I actually kind of liked. I liked the way they did Electro in that movie. I liked certain things about it, and I like the fact that when Lizard was talking to him, he was like, "Wow, you look really different. What happened to your comb over and stuff?" He was like, I don't know. It's just the power. Da da da. He just kind of brushed off the explanation. Like I was like, okay, like so y'all just ain't gonna really go into it, huh?
I think he said something later on. He said something about him coming to this world changed him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of how they like, yeah, he's
because
still that character, but
the
he's
power
different...
is a little, the power is a little different. So it affected him a little differently.
Also, to be fair, when he changed into the blue Electro, he didn't have the comb over and everything else when he was that. So he really couldn't. It's not like he was going to go back to being exactly the way he was. It's
he was going to be it basically became the version of himself that he thought he would. So when he reconstituted himself, that's how, I mean, that's the only way I can rationalize it, that this is how he imagined himself to look.
Right.
So
I was going to say, if you have the power to make yourself a better version of, or as far as what you think, like, oh, I can be better than this, and you have the power to make that happen, why not?
Yeah. See, now I'm going to stand by my criticism of the effects. I didn't care. I think they could have just stuck with having him look normal and have powers, as opposed to trying to give him a physical deformity. Right. But that's just me, because I always feel like they don't want Black characters to actually look Black for them to be accepted by the white male patriarchy. So I'm putting the soapbox away.
Okay. And see, Hanako's explanation is making me want to go find a tank of electric eels and jump into it, so I can come out looking like Lenny Kravitz. That's how I'm like picturing myself being right now. Like,
no, I'm just saying.
No, I'm picturing The Rock, because I think The Rock's got a little bit more heat than Lenny Kravitz. But
oh my God, y'all are.
I would take either one.
I was just saying that because, again, I'm not familiar with his character because I haven't watched those movies that his character was in, but I know that just what I've seen, of course, I feel like when they make characters look like that, he had the bad teeth, he had the glasses, he had the really weird comb over, he was kind of, at least what I've seen of him, he was kind of hunched over. It's one of those things where he's supposed to be this character that is unattractive, that's supposed to be quote unquote weird, that people kind of look down, kind of like the Barbara character in 1984, like Wonder Woman 1984. They make these characters that's supposed to be so grotesque and nobody wants to deal with them. And then so in his mind, if he thinks that person, that's not the person he wants to be because of how people have treated him, and he has a way to make himself look the way that he feels he should look, and you have that power to do that, I just feel like that's probably what he did.
And I don't think he did it consciously. I think he did it unconsciously.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he made, because even when he was like, I actually have a body now. Like, I don't think he consciously did that.
Yeah, he said, I got my body back.
Yeah, that's in his subconscious. He got his body back, but it was what he thought he should be, not what he really was.
Plus, they're making, I mean, it's the same, it's the same way that they've been treating geeks, nerds, dorks, and smart people throughout time. It's like give them thick glasses, give them buck teeth, give him messy hair, give him sloppy clothes, and make him go around being introverted and antisocial and blah 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 blah. It's the same damn thing over and over again, whether you're Black, white, Asian, or Hispanic. If you're a nerd, it's exactly what you look like. It's basically the stock costume for a nerd. It's like high water pants, ill-fitting shirt with ink on your pocket, and blah blah blah. There you go. Go out and be a nerd. And it's like, whatever. Sure. You say so.
Yeah. But moving on, so we have,
that was my soapbox. So
no, we've had this conversation before. So let's see, we've got Doc Ock, we've got Electro, we've got Dr. Connor, we got
did we skip over the Scooby Gang?
The what?
The Scooby, yeah, we skipped over the Scooby-Doo gang because Peter said I needed help, so he got his friends together.
He said, "Go Scooby-Doo this shit."
And then MJ quietly and very low-key, nicely, low-key. I don't know. I like the way that MJ kind of spoke to him, because she was like, yeah, I know a couple of magic words too, starting with please. And he just looked at her like he was amused, like, does she not
he was
know
like,
who
this
I am?
little okay.
Okay.
He was like, okay.
We do this shit. Yeah, that was cute.
I had a comment about Doctor Strange. I think with Wong being the Sorcerer Supreme and Strange not having all that responsibility, you get to see him for who he really, really is, like the arrogant asshole who thinks he can do anything. You know?
Yeah, because he's untethered now. He can do whatever the fuck he wants.
He didn't have any responsibilities whatsoever.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Because think about it, if he was Sorcerer Supreme, he wouldn't have done any of that stuff for Peter. He would have been like, yeah, you know what? You just gonna have to go deal with it. I can't do anything. My hands are tied. So,
or really, he wouldn't have done anything like that immediately. He would have thought about it first. But now he's like, I ain't got to think about this shit. What you need? Well, you want me to conjure up a dragon? Sure, I'll conjure up a dragon. You want me to conjure up $1 million? Here, poof. But before, he probably would have been like, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I should do. Okay, here. But he would have done anyway. But he would have at least thought about it for like a couple minutes.
I don't think he would have done it.
He's one of the most impulsive characters in the MCU. You can't say that he's not. He's very impulsive.
Well, he's also the one that he's like, I'm not going to give him the time stone, but then he does, right?
Yeah,
I'm thinking of that conversation he had with Tony.
Yeah, but the only reason why he gave him the time stone was because, remember, he saw all those possibilities.
Yeah,
and there was
that was after he saw all the possibilities.
He did
that. Yep. Because he was like, okay, this is our only chance, you know. But yeah, I don't think he would have done this for Peter if he was still Sorcerer Supreme. You know, I think it would have been.
I think he just thought it was a fun thing I can do. You know, not a big deal. I've done it before. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, apparently.
That was funny. Yeah.
But you didn't have a nervous 16, 17-year-old sitting there like, oh, because my whole thing was, when you were sitting there thinking about the people who need to remember, the fact that he remembered them so slowly, like, well, my girlfriend needs to remember. Oh, but my best friend. Oh, and you know what? Aunt May, when she found out the first time, it was hell. I can't go through. Like, dude, you should have had a list. Okay, these are the people that still need to remember that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. MJ, Ned, Aunt May, Happy, and all of the Avengers. You know, he could have put all that in there, and it would have been cool. You know, but
yeah, if you had told him before he started casting.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, again, I think that's the thing. Dr. Strange should have been like, okay, remembering that you are talking to a child, like, so is there anyone who needs to be excluded from this spell? Because obviously, if your aunt knows or your family knows, you kind of might need them to still know, so that you know. I'm just thinking, okay, Dr. Strange, you know, kind of like MJ said, you know, this is partially your fault too.
Yeah, he didn't think it through either. He didn't think, maybe I need to remember. Like, he didn't think it through at all.
Like, he was like, nice knowing you, Park. What? Why would you want to? It just, that part didn't make sense to me. Like,
because he didn't exclude himself. He excluded himself from the party that he mentioned to Wong, because he remembers the party.
Right.
That's true.
So I don't know. That was the part that was kind of weird to me. Like, so y'all didn't take more time to have this conversation before, like you said, you brainwashed the entire world. Like, you
it was like Mike said, Strange is very impulsive.
Yeah.
He is.
Exactly. Yeah. And he's the wrong person to have the memory thingy.
Right.
Did you flashy thing me? He flashy thinged everybody, and I think he flashy thinged a lot of people.
Yeah. So anyway, we have all of the quote unquote villains in the cells, and Dr. Strange has made his little box that's going to send them all back to their own worlds. But during a conversation that Peter, MJ, and Ned have with all of them as they're kind of getting to know them, and we find out that Doc Ock, of course, knows the Green Goblin, who has not been captured yet. We find out that Electro and Lizard, they know each other, all this thing. So they're basically figuring out, okay, so you're from the same universe and you're from the same universe. And then they also find out that these people are, for the most part, dead. Octavius, Dr. Otto Octavius.
But they don't find that out until later.
No,
he just says that Norman is dead.
Mm-hmm. Norman is dead, but then they are having that conversation about what happens to all of them when they start thinking about, okay, so I was having this fight with Spider-Man, and then I woke up here. So they start realizing that they all died fighting Spider-Man.
But that was after they got Norman, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
But I was laughing at when Peter was like, yeah, there was a guy who like a giant green elf.
But you're right. It was after they got Norman. See, this is the one thing I don't like about being able to stream at home, because I usually have this stuff playing in the background. It's hard to remember everything that happens in the movie. Like, we remember it, but sometimes you don't remember it in the right order. And then I can't just go to my other computer and say, okay, well, let me see, which we can't do that here. But you're right.
Before we get into it, shout out to Mr. Willem Dafoe, who by far was the absolute best actor in this whole fucking movie. Oh my God.
Not only that, but he only came back on the condition that he does the stunts just like he did before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way that he literally, I still, even from the first Spider-Man, I still think that he literally, he might have a little bit of split personality disorder, because he does that shit so fucking well. Like, he literally turns himself into two entirely different people. And I'm like, when he was kicking Peter's ass, like, bruh, I was like, holy shit. I don't think he kicked Toby's ass like that. Like, he whipped Tom. He whipped Tom's Peter like that within an inch. He whipped his ass. Like, there was no questioning.
And I don't think he de-aged. I don't think they de-aged him. They de-aged Alfred Molina for Doc Ock, but they didn't do Willem Dafoe.
Because he still is the same.
He looks
he's looked like he's 75 for the last 25 years. He has. Come on, he looks almost the same as he did when he did the first Spider-Man. He looks almost the same.
That's horrible.
He might have a few more wrinkles, but it's not that many more. He almost looks exactly the same.
Just like
I'm being good.
Body of evidence.
That's a compliment.
Exactly the same. He looks exactly the same. Y'all like body of evidence.
That's horrible.
I'm just saying he looks the same.
That's horrible.
I mean, it's not like I'm saying all white people look like. I'm just saying he looks the same.
Hanako's like, I'm staying out of this conversation.
I'm staying out of this conversation. So let's talk about how Green Goblin actually gets to Doctor Strange's. So we see him in an alley, and he's taken the mask off. He's gotten, he's hiding the glider. And if we remember from the first set of Spider-Man movies, when he took the mask off, it's kind of like the mask was one personality and he was himself. And the mask was taunting him about how weak he's become, and you're a coward, this, that, and other. He's like, leave me alone. He smashes the mask and he runs. And what happens is he finds his way to May's job, where she works as a volunteer for like I think it's like a homeless shelter or a food kitchen sort of thing.
Feast.
So he's there with her, and she calls, Peter, and she's like, hey, that dude you was looking for, he's here. So when Peter gets there, it's not Green Goblin. It's literally, it's Harry Osborn. And he's there and he's confused because he's in this new place. He said, I can't go home. Somebody's living in my house. My son doesn't exist here. So he's he's kind of in shambles. He's trying to figure out what he's supposed to do. And he starts telling them about the voices. He says, sometimes I'm not myself. There are voices. And, May is kind of looking at him like, yeah, his elevator does not go to the top floor. You need to help him. And Peter is like, I'm through with trying to help all these people. He was like, they need to go back to their place and do whatever it is they're supposed to do. This is not my responsibility. It's not my problem. And Aunt May is basically talking to him like, look, dude, these people need help. And you need to be the one to give it to you. Like, he came looking for you, not to kill you. He came for help because he thought that you could help him. So they take him back to Dr. Strange's. They put him in one of the cells, and that's when they start having a conversation, and they realize that they all died fighting Peter Parker. So when Dr. Strange comes in with his nice little box that he's about to, push the button and send them back to their universes, they all realize they're going to go back to their universes and they're going to die. They're going to cease to exist. And of course, they don't want that. They're like, no, Electro kind of says, yeah, I kind of like being alive. So no, I don't want to do that. And Peter has to make a split decision, and he takes the box from Dr. Strange, and then they get into this fight in a mirror dimension. And when I tell y'all, when I looked at that, I was like, oh, are we doing Inception? Okay, we're doing Inception because that's exactly what it looked like. That fight was amazing, but it was one of those where I was like, this is not going to work out well for anybody. Dr. Strange he's got the code. No, before they even get to the mirror dimension, hold on, let me say this. Peter goes outside of the Sanctum Sanctorum, and Dr. Strange is keeping him from escaping. Peter tries to swing. Dr. Strange opens a portal. The portal brings him right back out front. And then he does this thing where he goes running towards Dr. Strange. I think he was running towards him, or he was trying to escape him, and Dr. Strange hits the box. And we've seen this in the promos. He hits the box and basically pushes Peter not only out of the suit, but out of his body. So his essence is floating outside the body while Dr. Strange is talking to him.
It's his astral form.
Yes, there
astral
you go.
Projection.
I couldn't think of the term, but yes, that's what it is. And it was so cool seeing that, because like you could see the Spidey, you could see like the waves of the Spidey sense behind his head. But the funny thing, somebody explained to me, how was his body still able to move while he was way back here? What was that about?
His spider sense is connected to his nerve system.
Oh,
it's an involuntary thing. It's not conscious.
Okay.
So it's going to control his. That's how he's able to do things, because of the spider sense. It's all reaction and muscle memory. He's not doing that stuff consciously. Because
that was funny, because he was like, how am I doing that? And Dr. Strange was like, you should not be able to do this. And it was so funny because he's sitting there trying, and Peter's doing it, and Peter's like, this is cool. And then he gets back, he has to swim back to his body. And then he was like, that was probably the coolest thing that's ever happened to me, but don't do that again. And he takes off, and then they get into the fight in the mirror dimension. And then Peter happens to realize, he was like, oh, and it's been so long since I've done math, I'm not even going to try to remember the terms he used. But he's like, oh, isn't that a such and such? Oh, this is nothing but geometry. We're great at geometry. Okay, we can do this. So he figures out a way to keep Dr. Strange in the mirror dimension while he comes out.
What's cooler than magic?
Math.
He literally caught Dr. Strange in a web. Like, he literally was a spider for like a few minutes. Yeah.
So he comes back and he realizes, okay, you know what? There has to be something we can do instead of sending them back to die, and he figures, okay, well, maybe we can figure out how to cure you guys. Yeah.
Wait, no, you skipped the coolest thing about him being a kid. I actually fought Dr. Strange and I won. It's like, I actually fought Dr. Strange and I won.
Yeah, you're right. I did skip that. I forgot. Yeah. But okay, he's he's a kid. He had a moment. And also have to note that when he leaves Dr. Strange in the mirror dimension, he also takes his ring. He takes Dr. Strange's ring. That's going to be important later. So anyway, he gives MJ the box and asks her to keep it safe. He gives Ned the ring, and Ned kind of does this motion, and you see some sparks. And it's like, whoa, because when they first got to the Sanctum Sanctorum, and they're looking around, Ned asked Dr. Strange, he's like, so how did you know that you could do magic? Because my Lola says that we can do it. It's in our blood. But, and he said, I sometimes feel a little tingling in my hand. And Dr. Strange says, I suggest you see a physician about that. So, what you pointed at, Anthony's, his isn't that strange?
No,
his
name. His name.
Oh.
Because Ned he was so enthralled and intrigued by everything in the Sanctum Sanctorum. Like he ran over here, over there, and like he looked like he knew what everything was. And from everything that happened in here, am I tripping, or did the cape come and save Ned when he was falling?
Yes, it did.
It did.
All that together, I have a theory. I am calling it today, 12/18/2021 at 10:07 p.m. If Ned doesn't become Hobgoblin like he does in the comics, he will be trained to become a Sorcerer Supreme. I am calling it right now. This is probably the wildest theory that I've ever had in my entire life. But from the way that Doctor Strange kind of looked at him, he was like, like at the end. He acted like he was impressed with him. I'm like, he's going to be trained. It's going to be something where Ned, because he's got the magic in him. He's got the magic in him. He's got the magic in him.
This is the best thing about the multiverse, is that there is a version of Ned that is the Sorcerer Supreme somewhere.
It's happening.
Yeah, that can be in this one, because he told Peter, he was like, I promise to never betray you and try. What did he say? I promise to never try
become
to kill you.
Villain.
Yeah, become a super villain and try to kill you. This is after he found out that Peter too, as they end up calling him, he tells him that his best friend.
He says that, but the ironic thing is, like Mike said, is there is a version of Ned where he becomes a hobgoblin that actually tries to kill.
Yeah, I know. And it's so funny because in the movie theater, I can't remember if this happened in the first viewing, but in the second one last night when I went, when he went up to Peter and said that, I promise not to become a supervillain and try to kill you, somebody said, are you sure? Somebody
never
said
know
that in the theater, right? So anyway, they take all of the villains and they go to Happy's condominium, and Peter starts working on some things, and with Osborn's help, to try to help cure everyone. So they work on the one for Doc Ock first, and it turns out to work, perfectly. He's separated from the voices that are in his head, and then because Peter finds out that the chip that's supposed to control or keep the AI from invading his brain is damaged. So instead of Otto being in control of the tentacles ended up being in control of him, which of course we saw with his rage and the way he acts, blah, blah, blah. So once they fix that, they go to work on other things. And they're using the fabricator that's in Happy's apartment for that. He starts to work on a device for Electro. Now Electro has already been in the room and he's seen Tony's arc reactor, and he's like, I kind of like that. I was like, this is not going to be good. This is not going to be good. And then, the device that Peter is making for him is similar to the arc reactor. Like, it goes in the same spot. It has the same shape. And I was like, that's not good. That's not going to work out well. So anyway, while he's, working on that, Otto and Harry Osborn are, Norman Osborn, wrong one. They're in the room, and Otto says to him, he was like, so are you excited? He was like, you're gonna, be whole again. And the way that they focused on Osborn's back and kind of the tilt of his head, I was like, that's not Osborn. That's not him. That's Goblin. That's Goblin. So and he turns around and he looks at Otto with that crooked smile. I was like, yep, definitely not. And it was like you were saying, Mike, with Willem Dafoe, when he's Norman Osborn and when he's a goblin, even as as Norman Osborn, like the subtle changes in his face lets you know which character he's playing at that moment. But it's very subtle, but it's also very, very obvious. Like, and he switches so seamlessly into, in and out of both characters. And that was one of the things I always loved about him in the first movie. It's like, dude, like you said, Anthony, are you sure you're pretending? Because you're doing this way too well. But
yeah.
So in the midst of this, J. Jonah Jameson has had one of his lackeys tell him where they are. So they're outside trying to get some exclusive footage because, again, he's trying to make everyone believe that Spider-Man is this like huge whatever. Oh, that character gets on my nerves. But while they're working on things, Peter's spider sense starts tingling and he starts walking around the apartment and he knows, he's like, okay, is one of these people in here? And he has to kind of quiet his brain and he starts hearing like this accelerated heartbeat and he realizes that it's Norman. And of course, Norman starts giving his little supervillain speech about how they don't need to be cured. There's nothing wrong with them. You can't cure a god. They're supposed to be taking what they want and blah, blah, blah. And of course, Otto is the one kind of like same voice. He's like, yo, this is not what we want to do. Sandman is like, yo, look, I just want to get home to my daughter. Can y'all just like figure this shit out? And right. Of course, Electro is like, yeah, I don't want my powers taken away. He takes the arc reactor, all kinds of shit breaks out. And then we get this epic fight between Norman Osborn and Peter Parker. And
the one-sided ass whipping between Goblin.
No, I won't say it was quite one-sided because
one-sided.
Peter was getting his shots in, like he was doing some moves, and I was like, okay, he learned a couple like the time when
he was punching him in the face, and then like Goblin was like smiling at him, like he was hitting him like 2 or 3 times, and he was like, and Goblin was like, hit me again. I was like, jeez.
I mean, and it was brutal, but Peter was holding his own for a minute, and then of course, Lizard kind of got involved. I think Sandman got involved at some point. Before they took off, because Otto jumped ship. He was like, yo, this is not what I'm here for. He took the hell on. He got the hell on.
Lori will probably, when she comes on and talks about this, just to be here for Lori, she would say, in the comic books, we learned that Peter Parker pulls his punches.
Mm-hmm.
He literally he's not, it's like, I think in the Marvel Universe handbook, he's like 20 tons is his limit.
Wow.
But he's incredibly strong.
Mm-hmm.
And he pulls his punches. And I think we got a lot of that. And another Spider-Man mentions it later. Another Peter says, I was pulling my punches and I stopped.
Yeah.
And so Peter isn't giving his all. Remember, he's a kid. He doesn't really want to hurt anyone.
Right.
But if he really wanted to, well, he does later. But if he really wanted to do some damage to Norman, he could.
Yeah, he could. So anyway, during this fight, of course, once they realize that Norman is has gone back to Green Goblin persona and he's making his speech, Aunt May goes into the room and she gets the cures for all the other I think it was Norman's cure,
Electro's cure.
And
no, it wasn't Electro's because Electro had his. It was
and
Lizard's cure. That was those 3. She grabbed those and she runs out the condo. And of course, she's trying to get downstairs. Elevator stops working because Electro is fucking with all the electricity. So she runs downstairs. So in the midst of this brutal ass whooping that's going on between Goblin and Peter, they fall through the floors all the way down to the first floor. And as he's choking the life out of Peter, she grabs one part of his cure, because I think his was in 2 parts. It was like in 2 different vials. And she jabs him in the neck and she gets half of the antidote in, or half of the cure into him. but it's not enough to stop him. And basically he gets his glider, or he calls his glider. The glider comes through the window and knocks Aunt May to the ground. And, everything starts like going crazy. He has one of the bombs. He throws it in there, and Peter is able to grab it and push it back outside before it explodes. Green Goblin leaves. Peter is hurt. Aunt May is hurt, but they get up and they talk to each other. They're trying to get out. And Peter is upset, of course, at this point, because he's like, I should have just sent them home. He was like, I can't do this. I'm sending them home. And she tells him, no, we still did the right thing. This was the right thing to do. And of course, he comes with that whole, I don't want to do this anymore. This is not my responsibility. And she stops, and she was like, hold up. She was like, you have a gift. And with great power, there must come great responsibility. I'm telling you, when me and Anthony heard that, and the theater that we were in, everybody said, oh no, don't make her say that. Like, everybody knew what was coming.
Yeah. They Uncle Ben, Aunt May. Like,
so they get ready to leave. They get ready to walk out, and she falters a little bit. She's like, I just need to catch my breath. And she falls to the ground, and Peter's talking to her. Man, let me tell you, his acting in this scene, and I'm telling you, Anthony would deny it. I saw Anthony wipe his eye like this in that scene. I will
still deny it.
Whatever.
You saw nothing.
He was crying. I heard a couple of sniffles too.
Be strong. Anthony.
That was those people behind me.
No, that was the whole theater, including me and you, everybody. Let me tell you. When he was telling her, he was like, no, he was like, you're okay. It's just you and me. And then when he looks and he sees, I'm guessing the glider probably got her, and because everything that was going on, she probably just didn't realize it. But he pulls his hand and there's blood all over it. And then, of course, she dies.
Okay, first of all, I just want to say the person who I live with and related to by marriage was sitting next to me last night. And when she fell to the ground, she goes, this is bullshit. Like, she's like, they're not about to do this right now.
I think we had the same thoughts, because I was just sitting there like, no. And then afterwards, after we watched the movie, Anthony and I were talking about it, and I was like, I guess that's the one absolute point in Spider-Man's life. Like, wherever Spider-Man is, he's gonna have to lose. He's gonna lose whoever it is after they say that phrase. Whether it's Uncle Ben, Aunt May, he
has to hear that phrase,
and then they die.
Has to die.
I was like, I felt like Michelle. I was like, this is some bullshit. How y'all gonna kill Aunt May? Like, what? Do y'all always
people? Even when after she got hit by the glider, someone was like, oh no, not Aunt May. But then she gets up, and you feel like everybody kind of like, okay. And then she starts stumbling and she falls, and then you just start hearing people go, no. You just hear all through the theater. God. It was crazy.
All through the theater. And then you could hear like the sniffles and people crying. Yes. And it was just like.
And then Tom Holland, his face. Oh my God. Yeah. And I did not cry. Hanako did not.
Yes, you did. Whatever. His whole acting in that scene. And then when Happy pulls up in front of the building and he looks at Peter, and Peter is standing, he's hunched over Aunt May, and he looks up and he looks at Happy, and he's crying, and then he looks back down. Happy's like, oh no. And then, of course, so the police and stuff who showed up, they pull Happy out of the van, and then they arrest him. Why would y'all arrest him? This motherfucker just pulled up. He wasn't part of all of this.
They would say they were securing the scene.
Okay, whatever.
That's how that goes.
Whatever. Y'all should have been securing the scene when this boy was in the building saying, I need help. Please, my aunt's dying. Please, someone help. Where were y'all then?
Oh, no, they shot. They didn't try to see what was going on. They just shot him.
I know.
we know how that goes. So
then, of course, he takes off because they started shooting at him. And then the next thing we see is he's standing in front of a large billboard in the middle of the city, and it's J. Jonah Jameson recording live from the scene where he's telling people that Spider-Man is a menace and everything that he touches is destroyed. And this is a lot for someone to have to hear after he just literally lost his aunt. So he goes and, we kind of see Ned and MJ at Ned's house. And of course, they're watching the news, so they know what's going on. And they're trying to contact Peter. And of course, he's not answering his phone. He's not answering anything. And MJ is about to press this button because Peter told her, if you don't hear from me or if something happens, press the button, send them back. So she's about to do it. And Ned is like, no, we just need to find, he's gesturing like this. He's like, we just need to find Peter Parker, or we just need to find a way to find Peter. And you see the little sparks again, and they're both looking like, oh, okay. So she says, do it again. So he kind of does what he's seen Dr. Strange do. He was like, we need to find Peter Parker. And you see a portal start and then it closes again. So he concentrates really hard and he finally opens up a portal and you see Spider-Man standing in the distance. Now, people in the theater the last night, the big viewing, I had a group of teenagers and young adults sitting behind me, and they were like, oh shit, is it Andrew? Oh shit, is it Andrew? And when he turns around, I guess because their suits are very different, people already knew that's who that was. So everybody started cheering, and then they quieted down. And then as soon as he took his mask off, everybody went bananas. Bananas. Cheering, whatever. So we get them introducing themselves to each other, and it's so weird because MJ is sitting there like she's about to karate chop him, and she's like, okay, you need to prove you're Peter Parker. And the whole little thing that he does when he's like, okay, and he just kind of jumps up and sticks to the ceiling and he's just hanging there. That was so cute. And then she's like, okay, so crawl around a little bit or something. He's like, I don't have to crawl around. I'm not gonna crawl around. I don't have to crawl around.
What was funny was her throwing the bread. He's like, don't do that.
He kept throwing biscuits at him. Like, hey, MJ, calm down.
Don't do that.
And then Lola, Ned's grandmother, she starts talking to him. And he was like, my Lola says, can you get that cobweb since you're up there? He's like, oh yeah, sure. Anything for Lola. And he crawls over, he gets the cobweb, he gets down. He's like, are we good now? So they're like, okay. So he's like, okay, so this is the wrong Peter Parker. So maybe I need to try to open another portal to get Peter. And then that one, this is the one that I was actually able to record last night. Like I just kind of turned on my camera and I just played that little part. And I'm telling you, when the portal opened and you see the clothes at first, you don't see his face. When he bends down to step through the portal, I thought the fucking theater was about to fall down around me because the screams for Toby were ridiculous. They were ridiculous.
We should also say that the recording that Miss Ricks made was for personal entertainment only and not to be distributed, and that everything is owned by Marvel Cinematic Universe Incorporated.
I would definitely post that.
Please leave her alone. Thank you.
No, I just really wanted to get the reaction as far as I just wanted to hear how everybody was going to react, because I was like, okay, people cheered when we went to watch it on Thursday, but again, we were in a theater with less than 100 seats, so it wasn't the reaction that I was expecting. Like I was expecting an Steve grabbing Mjolnir type of reaction. And I didn't get it on Thursday. I definitely got it last night. And I have a feeling I'll get it tomorrow when I go take my younger two kids, my 19-year-old and my 23-year-old, to go see the film. But the reaction, like people are cheering. You can see like there was an older lady sitting next to me, and you could see her like dabbing her face. Like the energy was crazy. And then when they kind of looked at each other and they realized who they were, and they started web fighting with each other. And then they start,
that was dope.
That was funny. And then Lola was like, can you make sure they clean up all their stuff before? And it was funny because Andrew Garfield's Peter, he just kept saying, oh yeah, sorry, Lola. Like he was like, okay, yeah, I'm so sorry. And he starts cleaning up. And then, they go into the thing. They were like, Toby said, And I guess because he's been in that world where he was trying to figure out what was going on, when he comes through, he looks at MJ and Ned. He was like, I know you two, or I've seen you two. And then he turns and he looks, he's like, but you're not their friend. You know, that's what he's saying to Andrew Peter. So then he says, you know, I've been looking for your friend. I just get the feeling that he really needs me. And then, you know, Andrew Peter says he needs us. And they start talking about kind of like their shared experience. He was like, you know, when I needed a place to go alone, I used to go to the Chrysler Building. And Andrew says, you know, Empire State, the view is better. He was like, it is a pretty sweet view. And then that's when MJ realizes that Peter has gone to the rooftop of their school, because that's where they used to go to kind of get away from everything. And boy, when I tell y'all, this next scene, when all three Spider-Men finally meet each other, and you know, first of all, Peter's sitting there and he's like battered, bruised. He's dealing with the death of Aunt May. And when MJ and Ned come over to him and they just grab him and they hug him and he just breaks down. I can't look, I'm starting to tear up now talking about it. That moment was just so powerful for me. Just
I thought I was gonna lose it.
Oh my God. I was like, here it is. You know, this guy, yeah, he's a superhero, but he's still a kid and he just lost the closest part, the only person in his family left. And he has a moment where he's able to let loose and break down and just kind of be this sad kid. And then to have his two best friends with him, and they didn't even have to say a word. They just came to him and all three of them are crying. I was like, y'all, we're not even halfway. We're not, I don't even think we were at the halfway point of the movie at that part. I was just like, oh my God. And then of course he starts to sense, and she was like, Peter, there are some people. And when he sees them, okay, so last night's screening, when they did the shot of both of them standing on top of the building, again, theater went nuts. They liked the shot. Like there were certain shots of the Spider-Man that people lost their shit over. That was one of them. And then when they came down and they start talking to him and they have this conversation about, you know, the people that they've lost. And, you know, he was like, don't tell me that you understand. They talk about Uncle Ben and they talk about Gwen. Okay, so here's the thing that confused me. So again, the only part of Andrew Garfield's movies that I have seen is the part where he was trying to save Gwen. He grabs her with the web, but of course he grabbed her too late. So she hits the floor, breaks her back, and then she dies.
No. That's not what happened. Okay, so this is the most I know about physics. So just bear with me. So she's falling, right? And Andrew dives. He's trying to get to her. He sees that he's not gonna be able to get to her. So he throws a web down to catch her. Mm-hmm. From like to catch her before she hits the ground and like to stop her. But at the rate her body is, I saw a video about it, it's like for the rate her body, they actually did it in the comic too. At the rate her body was falling, for him to catch her with the web and hold it and stop her body, the centrifugal force basically broke her in half.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, I thought it was when her back hit that damn ground, because you heard that splat, and I was like, "Oh my!" No,
you basically heard the snap of her spine, like when the web had her, when he grabbed it tight to keep her from hitting the ground. Her body was like this when it did, because the web's right here. So when he grabbed it, it basically stopped her body. And it's Newton's law. When a body is in motion, it tends to stay in motion. So she just went crack like that.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see that.
That's what killed her.
I saw her hit the ground, and that was like. But anyway, so the thing that confused me, and again, I don't know how people, you know, feel about that particular series. I know it only got 2 movies. I don't know. But when he starts talking about it, when he says, "I lost Gwen, she was my MJ," there were people around me snickering and laughing about him saying that. And every time, like, it was that moment, and then the moment later on when MJ falls off the building, and you know, our Peter is not able to catch her because Goblin's glider pushes him out the way. So then when Peter 3, which is what Andrew's Peter is referred to, when he sees it, he dives down to grab her. He catches her in his arms, and then he shoots the web up so that it cushions their fall. And when he's sitting there and she's looking at him, he was like, "Are you okay?" And she says, "Yes." And he visibly breaks down like, "Oh my God, I did it this time. I saved her. Again, those same people started laughing. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out what the fuck is so funny about this. Like, am I missing something? Or is that just people just being assholes? Because I don't understand. Anthony, you're muted.
That sounds like people just being assholes.
Okay, because I was like, what's so funny about him accidentally killing her while trying to save her? And then he is visibly relieved that this particular instance didn't have the same outcome. And they were just laughing. I was like, I'm so confused. I don't understand. Like, what's funny about either of these scenarios? So, okay.
Nothing. Just
okay.
those absolutely nothing.
Okay. But
because even though I don't really like those Amazing Spider-Man movies, they were pretty decent. And but that scene was still kind of powerful because in the comic book, when he saved her, it broke her neck.
Okay.
The Vulture, I think, it was a Vulture who, huh?
I can remember if it was neck. It was a neck for it.
It was her neck. In the comic book, it was her neck.
Okay.
Broke her neck. It was the same principle, but it broke her neck.
Okay.
And she died.
So but I mean, again, those two movies were so freaking dark. It's ridiculous. Like as far in comparison to the other movies, those two movies were dark as fuck.
Okay. But I really like the scene because they're basically sharing their experience with this younger, newer Spider-Man, and just basically telling him, you have to push on. We have to do the right thing. This is what we do, and then Peter starts telling them, he was like, "I can still hear May's voice in my head," and he almost breaks down again. I'm telling you, this whole scene, like from this point on, from May dying through the rest of the movie, I pretty much cried the rest of the movie. Like I was in tears, or I was like holding it back, or what. That whole movie was so ridiculously emotional. But he says that, even after she was hurt, she still said that we did the right thing. She told me that with great power, and then, Toby Peter says, comes great responsibility. And he's like, "How did you know that?" And Andrew says, "That's what Uncle Ben said." And Toby says, "The day he died." So maybe she didn't die for nothing. And, Tom is looking at them. I'm just going to refer to them by their first names. We all know we're talking about Peter, Spider-Man.
Peter 1, Peter 2, and Peter 3.
Peter 3.
But so they go back to the apartment, which I'm like, how is this? Oh no, they go into the school. Yeah, they go into the school, into the science lab, and they basically start working on the 3 cures. They're trying to finish it or fix them because they got broken. And the interactions in this whole scene, like the interactions between the 3 Spider-Men and with MJ and Ned.
Ned was fanboying hard. Like I don't know if it was fanboying or if his confusion just kind of overwhelmed him, where he just didn't know how to act.
Would you?
No, I wouldn't. I'd be the same way. I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying, like, I'd probably
I think he was overwhelmed. Like he was.
That's a lot. Like
it was a lot for him, for his brain. Even as smart as he is, that was a lot for him to process.
Right, because you're looking at 3 different Spider-Man. You've got 3 different faces, 3 different ages,
3 different versions of your best friend.
Right. I mean, it's just it's a weird thing to look at, and then to listen to the way that they talk and they interact with each other. It's so funny because I feel like at some portions, especially with Andrew's character, I feel like he was making fun of his version of Spider-Man more than the other 2. Like when he was sitting there, they were talking about the cures, and he was like, "Yeah, I do Dr. Connors because I cured him once before I can do it again." He was like, "I'm not bragging. It's just, it's not a big deal," or something like that. And they were just looking at him like, he was like, "I'm not bragging." And I felt like that was kind of like one of those things because everybody always talks about how arrogant his character was, and I think that was just like one of those little things. Like, okay, yeah,
he was really self-deprecating. Yeah, his self-deprecation was at all-time high.
Have y'all seen Into the Spider-Verse?
Yes.
Yes.
Did you get Into the Spider-Verse feel with all the different versions?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And then especially like towards the end when after they cured Electro, and Electro, Max, which is what his character's name was, and Andrew Peter, I guess they were friends, or they were friendly with each other.
They were.
And so, they're sitting there talking, and Max says to him, he says, he was like, you got a good looking face, you're young, you like to help people, this, that, and that. He's like, I don't know, I just thought you would be black. And Andrew's like, man, I'm sorry. He was like, no, it's fine. I mean, there's got to be a black Spider-Man in the universe somewhere. And everybody in the theater started cheering like, yes, they're talking about Miles. And yeah, I did get that. Like, I was like, I feel like this is the real life version of pretty much what happened in Into the Spider-Verse. Is very similar. But the conversations that they had in that science room, like Ned going up to, he kind of, slid his chair over, and he was like, so do you have a best friend? And he was like, I did. He died in my arms right after he tried to kill me. And I don't know if anybody else heard Andrew was like, dude. And I thought that was somebody around me saying that, but when I watched it again last night, no, as soon as he said, right after he tried to kill me, and Ned's looking horrified, you can hear Andrew, he was like, dude, like, why would you tell him that? And then Ned was acting weird the whole time after that. Like, Tom was asking him, he was like, hey, can you run the diagnostic? He goes over to the computer, runs the diagnostic, he backs up, he turns around and walks, and Peter's looking at him like, what the hell is wrong with him? And then they had two conversations about the web shooters that we have to talk about.
Oh my God.
Because while they're there fixing the stuff, I don't even remember what it was that made Toby say, what? Something.
Ned gave Peter cartridges for his shooter cartridges.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like, what are those?
Right. He was like, for the web shooters, and Toby was like, huh? And then he shoots, and they're all like, oh my God, what? And Andrew's looking at him like, what the fuck do you do?
Like, where'd that come from? Did that come out of your wrist?
And he's like, Toby's like, you guys can't do that. They're like, no, we have to make our own, web shooters. That were like, that's strange. That part was funny, but no, the conversation that came afterwards when they're waiting for the villains to come to them, and they're on the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
Peter 2 and Peter 3, Toby and Andrew, they're sitting there talking, and Andrew says, so about the web shooters, he was like, so you just organically produce the webs? And Toby's like, I really don't want to discuss that. He was like, no. I mean, I don't want to talk about it if it's too personal. He was like, are you teasing me? He was like, no. And then from up top, Tom is like, no, he's not teasing you. It's just that we can't do that. So we're naturally curious. And they start having this conversation. And then Tom asked the question. I was like, did he really fucking ask this? He was like, I mean, I just like, do you just shoot it out your wrist, or does it come out of other places? I was like, is he really asking him if he ejaculates?
It comes out of his
webs? Like, that was where my mind went, because what else would you think? Like, I was like, did they really put this conversation in here? And then Toby's like, no, it's just out of my wrist. But that whole conversation was so weird. But
the other cool part was back in the lab when they were dressed, and then they looked at him and was like, you're just gonna go out there looking like a youth pastor?
And he was like, beep.
And it was like, oh,
yeah, I love how Toby was always, even the first one when he first came through, they were like, and he was like, yeah, I don't usually go around or was it where he said, I don't usually go around telling people.
Andrew said it first, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then after Toby said it, And Andrew was like, I just said that. MJ said, he just said that. That's so weird. Just watching the interaction between the three Spider-Men, that just like literally, I made a post after Thursday night, and I was like, okay, I think as of tonight, this is my MCU top 5. Spider-Man No Way Home is now in the top spot for me as far as MCU films, and a lot of that is because of the interactions between those three Spider-Men. You know, and it's something like you hear it in one of the interviews where, because of course, you know, people have been asking, I haven't seen any Toby interviews, but I've seen like a couple of Andrew things in the last few weeks, and some of them are older, but you know, they've had interactions with the media where they've talked about the other Spider-Man. They're like, yeah, you know, I think both of them are great, you know, and it could be either one of them talking. They're like, I think both of them are great. I think the thing that's that sucks is that people try to pit us against each other, like, oh, which one is better? And we all brought different things to the character and made the universes different. And I think that's one of the great things about this film, because you get to see those differences in all three, but you also get to see the similarities and how well they work together and play off of each other. Like once they got to the point where they realized, okay, this is not working because we're not working as a team. And the other two were like, well, I've never worked on a team before. And Tom, you know, Tom Spidey was like, okay, well, this is what we need to do. When they ran off that floor and they started web slinging together, and they're going, when I tell you, last night that theater went nuts. And then when they got on the top of the Statue of Liberty and they all, you know, landed separately, but they had the pose, I was like, this is what I should have took a picture of, because the whole theater, again, nuts. Like it almost sounded like, you know how in school when we applaud on the bleachers with our feet and it's like this big, that's what it sounded like in my theater when they did that, when they all three of them were doing the different Spider-Man poses together. Nuts.
Their signature poses for each one of them.
Right.
You know,
and it just highlights like like you said, the beautiful thing about the second half of the movie is seeing the differences between how they all characterize Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It was brilliant. I mean, even the things I keep saying they fixed Andrew, but it's not really. It's just he has a different version, a different take on how Spider-Man is, and it actually works the way it's contrasted against the other two. Because you got Toby's version is like this really sensitive, empathetic, you know, nice guy who's just trying to do the right thing. And then Andrew's like this kid who's had all this terrible stuff happen to him. You know, his parents are dead, Uncle Ben is dead, and he's just, you know, Gwen is dead. He's very bitter. He says he's very bitter and jaded. And that's how he acts. And then you have whatchamacallit, Tom Holland is just a kid, you know, with all the wonder and excitement of being an Avenger, being a superhero. He hasn't been marred yet. Well, he has now, but before that, they're all different. And I think I thought it was brilliant to have them all together.
And they played so well off of each other, like the humorous parts, the serious parts, even they didn't argue within themselves. They were just kind of like, okay, so how are we doing this, blah blah blah. And then Tom was like, okay, y'all listen to Peter 1. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, and you're gonna do this, and you're gonna do that. And even when he took charge, like at one point there was something happening, he was like, Peter 2 go left, Peter 3 go right, blah blah blah, let's go. And just the way they worked so well together, I was like, I would love to see another movie with the three of them being together. But it's like that interaction, especially considering I think people expected them to be in the movie. I don't think we expected them to be in the movie as much as they were. No, I wasn't expecting a whole half of the movie with all three of them. I didn't expect that. Whatever.
I thought it was going to be like Matt Murdock's cameo like 2 or 3 minutes.
Right. Or
but no, like the
15,
whole second
20.
act. The whole second act is all of them together.
It was great.
And one of them, at one point, one of them says, "I've always wanted brothers." Yeah. And I actually felt that when he said it, because it sounded like he genuinely meant that. Like,
yeah, and Andrew Peter said that. Yeah, and then the part where they were getting together, he was like, "I love you guys," and they're looking at him like, "Thanks." It was weird, but at the same time, it was kind of like I really kind of got that from the three of them, because it's like you said, Anthony, if you think about his character, we've seen him lose his parents and Uncle Ben and Gwen. And it's like, yeah, the other Peters have also lost, but I feel like those losses probably were more magnified, even just in the limited knowledge I have of that particular Spider-Man franchise. And I just felt like he was the one that really needed them more than they needed, than the other needed the rest of them, or however that is. But you could feel that. Like, I felt like it was genuine. It was just kind of one of those where, I mean, even at the end when Tom's Peter is about to, practically be erased from everybody else's memory, and they're about to go back to their own universes. When they did the hug with all three of them last night, my whole theater went, oh, you could hear people clapping, you could hear people crying, but it was like, that just made the movie for me. That pushed, and I mean, I still had, the others are still favorites for various reasons, but even for someone who was not familiar with one of the franchises, like, Andrew's, like, I still felt the emotional impact of him being in that film and of Toby being in that film. And it was just, it was a lot. It was a lot. And I was just like, oh yeah, this is definitely my favorite MCU movie right now. It's like top of it was a lot. Yeah. It was a lot.
Yeah, it's solidly in my top 5. I'm not sure about my rankings. Like I'm still going to like putting things together. Like, I'm not really sure like where it ranks, but it's definitely in my top 5. It's close to my top 3, but I still kind of have to compile it. But yeah, the whole thing was that whole Statue of Liberty scene was just very well done. Like, from lighthearted moments to moments that were serious, moments that were potentially life-threatening. I mean, we might as well go ahead. I mean, for me personally, the moment of the movie, and probably the moment for a lot of other people, is the moment when MJ was falling and Tom's Spidey was trying to catch her. He gets hit by the glider, and Andrew's Spidey was you could see like he was like, oh fuck, not again. And he jumps down and catches her and webs up and holds it and like lowers himself down and catches her, and he's like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, are you okay? And you could see the pain in his face where he's like, where it's just like a moment of redemption. I shed a couple at that moment, because I felt that, and you could hear and I was one of the people that was applauding when he did that, like, because when I saw it in the previews, I was like, that's where they're going to give him his redemption. They're going to give him a little bit of redemption by letting him save her. I was like, I know that's what's good. That's like, I saw it coming in the previews, but to see it in live action it gave me chills. Like, it's giving me chills just thinking about it now. Like, that was probably like, if not my favorite moment, one of my top 2 or 3 favorite moments in the whole movie. Like, I'm glad he got his little redemption arc for that.
Yeah, I'm glad my daughter showed me that scene from the other movie, because I don't think I would have understood. It wouldn't have hit me as hard as it did last night if I had not known about that scene, and it was like, when it happened, I was like, oh, they're not going to do this, because I really thought that they were going to let MJ die. I was like, oh, they're going to do that. And then when I saw his face, like, no, I said, oh no, He's about to save her. And I was so glad. And it was because also the way it's like, he has to be thinking in his head, like, as a spider person, I would assume that shooting the web to grab something, that's probably a natural instinct for them. And so to think about what had to go through his mind for him to be like, no, I can't do it this way, or it'll be the same result. Like, he literally had to fall to her, grab her, and then try to catch them with, shoot a web to catch them before they hit the ground. Just thinking about what that had to do to that character, like his mindset, like, no, I can't fuck this up. I can't fuck this up. I can't fuck this up. And for him to actually save her. And when she says, yes, I'm fine. Are you? And just like I said, the way he broke down is kind of like, oh God, I did it. I did it. I didn't. I didn't fail her. I didn't, it was just, you could see that all on that character, just like what that meant. And I was sitting in my seat bawling because I was like, that was a great fucking moment. It was. And I know my daughter tomorrow, when she sees it, like, I think she's trying to watch the Homecoming and Far From Home before we go see it. But even if she doesn't, I know that scene, when it happens, she is going to be a mess. She's going to be a mess.
Anyone who's seen the Andrew ones was a mess. I mean, knew what was going to happen, and they were just. I mean, that's why it's like people who say if they're going to see, like, should I see other ones? I'm like, there's no way you can. I mean, there's so many little things in here that you won't be able to understand. Like that scene. It's like you see him catch and be like, wait, why is he crying? Like, did you think she was going to die? Like, no, there's like, you have to understand the subtext and the things that happened before so you can understand what's really going on in this movie. So, I mean, that's kind of why you really have to see all of them to really feel what's going on.
Yeah. And the other thing too, that was so funny, throughout the film, they're having different conversations about what happened to them. Like, oh yeah, I fell into this. Oh, I fell into a vat of electric eels. I fell into this. And they kept making jokes like, yo, you got to watch where you fall. And then I think the other one was, yep, that'll do it. It was just like, they're making light of the fact that, okay, yeah, well, these are the tragedies that happened to us, and this is how we got here. Like, all of them, if you think about it, are, they had some pretty fucked up stuff happen to them. And again, I like dark humor. I like when they can insert it into those situations. And it was funny. At the end, when Tom is beating up Green Goblin, and like you say, Anthony, at this point, he's not pulling his punches because this is the person responsible for Aunt May's death. So he's sitting there, he's punching him, and then he picks up the glider and he's about to, I guess impale him with the glider. And then Toby comes and stops him, and you could see this battle going between them because Tom is looking at him like, get out of my way. And Toby is just standing firm, just with that look, just looking him in the eye. And then Tom finally puts the glider down. And when Toby stands up to smile, like, yes, you did the right thing, you hear, chunk. Everybody went, no!
I was like, no. I was like, they're not gonna do this.
I was like, if y'all kill him in this movie, I'm gonna be so pissed off. But then when
in our showing, someone said something, I'm paraphrasing, to the effect that I heard, what did I hear? I heard, of course, fucking Tobey Maguire would fuck this shit up. Someone said that.
Like, really?
Said, of course. I was like, wow.
But then it was so funny because Andrew comes over to him and he's like, oh my God, are you okay? He was like, or he said something about,
he said, I've been
stabbed all the time.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, I've been stabbed before. I was like, really? Because people started laughing. I'm like, really? And I really thought they were going to kill him. And apparently, no, which great. But there were just so many great moments. So many great moments in this movie. Like, we are going to talk about this film a second time because Lori, again, of course, with everything going on with COVID, she is actually in California where, Omicron is starting to rise in numbers. So Lori is not doing movie theaters at all. So we do want to give her a chance to talk about her thoughts on the movie as well. So we are going to do a second one, probably once Spider-Man. Yeah, and Kacey. Once it comes to streaming and she has a chance to talk about it, and I'm sure probably by that point, by the time it hits Disney Plus, like I said, I'm going to see it a third time tomorrow. I know I'm going to watch it once it hits Disney Plus, so there'll probably be other things that we've seen that we see in subsequent views that we just can't remember right now because there was so much going on in this film. But oh my God, this movie was so ridiculously good. It was just.
Oh yeah, Ned running away from
lizard.
The lizard. Yeah, he opens a portal underwater. I'm thinking, did he actually consciously do that?
That's what I was wondering too, because I was like, why are you opening a portal into what? Because I was thinking he was opening a portal for them to run through. And I was like, why are you opening a portal in the water? And then as he turns the corner, the portal opens up and the water comes in and it kind of knocks Lizard off his feet. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
And then he opens another portal and Dr. Strange comes through. Mad as hell. Like, I've been hanging upside down over the Grand Canyon for 12.
Okay, am I the only one that expected them to sound like Loki? It's like, I've been in the Grand Canyon for 30 days.
That would have been funny. But then he listened there. He was like, did you just open a portal? And Ned's like, yes.
He was like,
And then he walks off. And Ned and MJ are looking at each other like, oh my God. But yeah, Ned's totally gonna be a
Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah. I see it coming. I do.
Can you imagine a hobgoblin using magic? That would be crazy.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
No. But and then of course, Doctor Strange comes back and he wants to press the button and they're like, no, look, he's curing them. And
curing that ass.
Curing that ass. But he does let them know, okay, look, it's good that you've given them a second chance. They still have to go back to their own universes because at this point now we got cracks in the sky. I think what happens is Green Goblin comes to join. Green Goblin comes and he joins the fight. He steals the box and Doc Ock has shown up at this point and he is also helping, and Doctor Strange gets the box back, and then they realize that one of Green Goblin's one of his little bombs is in it, so it explodes. Of course, the spell is now uncontained, goes everywhere, and the sky starts opening up. And you see all of these different beings trying to get in. And I tried to take some pictures or videos so I could see, because Anthony and I were sitting there like, we're trying to figure out who are all these people, because I could have sworn one of those people was Thor. It looked like it, but I'm like,
I saw Loki. I saw Loki. I saw Scorpion. And
I think somebody said they saw Rhino.
Saw Rhino. I think I saw the Thor you were talking about.
Okay.
Someone that looked like a Thor.
So
it was a lot.
Right. So Doctor Strange is trying to contain this. He's trying to close up the brakes so that they can't get through, and it's not working. And then Peter comes to him and he says, what about if you did the spell that you did before? And Doctor Strange said, no, you botched the spell. He was like, no, what about if you do it the right way so that everybody in the world forgets Peter Parker? And he didn't say forgets Peter Parker is Spider-Man. He said so that they forget Peter Parker. And I was just like, no, don't do it. And Doctor Strange is like, yeah, it'll work. But he was like, then do it. He was like, but you have to understand, the people who know you and love you, we won't remember you. And I was like, y'all trying to make me cry again in the last little few minutes of the movie. Just screw y'all, Marvel. Just screw you. And I'm I mean, but he says, yeah, if this is what works, I know it's okay. So he sends Peter to go say his goodbyes, and he says his goodbyes to the two Spider-Men. And that was a cute scene because he went back to being his regular Peter, like tongue-tied, and I don't know what to say, but I just want to tell you guys, and they're like, yo, we know it is good. And then they do the spider hug, and then he goes to MJ and Ned, and boy, when I tell you, when he had to tell them that you're gonna forget me in a few minutes, MJ was looking at him like, motherfucker, didn't we have this conversation just earlier today about you don't make those kinds of decisions without this? That's what she wanted to say. But Ned, being the awesome best friend he is, Peter was like, I promise you guys, I'll find you and I'll tell you everything and I'll make you remember me and I'll make this right. And Ned is like, you promise? He was like, yeah. Okay, you better. And it's just kind of like, there had to be a hard thing for him to do, to say, okay, yes, I'm going to forget my best friend. Because I think Ned and Peter have been best friends since childhood. And that scene was just, and then of course we got the very big romance kiss, which was cool. And then she told him she loved him, and he was about to say it, and she was like, nope, just tell me when you find me and tell me everything. And I was just like, he's never going to get a chance to tell her, is he? That's the way I felt. I was like, he's never going to get a chance to tell her. And then we see at the end, he goes to find her at her job. He's rehearsing this speech, and he sees her, and he sees Ned, and they've gotten into MIT, and she's back to her weirdly awkward self that she was in the first film. I did not really care for her character much in the first film. She had to grow on me. But it's like one of those situations where he's getting ready to tell her, or I guess at least try to introduce himself to her, and then he decides to let it go. Like, oh, this is better for her, I'm just going to leave it alone. Like, maybe, and I don't know if that was his train of thought, or maybe it was one of those, okay, well, you know what? I'm just going to do this naturally and see what happens, because he tells her when he leaves, he was like, I see you around, and he leaves out the store. And I was just like, y'all are leaving us with no happy ending. I'm so sad. Even though I knew it wasn't. Shut up, Anthony, because I already know they weren't going to give us one, but a girl can hope. Like,
no, they were just saying it's a fresh start.
Yeah, I know.
Did I talk about the Disney Marvel thing?
Yes.
During this recording or before?
During.
Okay.
During.
So
yeah.
You see where it's going.
Yeah. So,
we'll circle back to MJ at some point.
Yeah, but we're gonna have to deal with all the Gwen Stacy stuff first, right?
Yeah. Eventually, you gotta deal with that.
That'll be first. Then we'll circle back. Because remember, Andrew Garfield's version hasn't met her yet.
Oh,
Doesn't. Oh, well, you know what? Let me stop, because I don't want to spoil the movies for you.
Oh no, it's fine. So look, that's my fault for not having watched them. But I had to think about that too. I was like, wait. I said Toby's version did do the whole Gwen Stacy thing. I was like, oh yeah, okay, I forgot about that. But so I guess it'll come full circle. But I was just kind of like, it just made me so sad that they're not going to remember him, that he made that sacrifice. Like, he's at May's grave, and Happy shows up, and he's like, how did you know her? And it's almost like I expected him to just close his eyes and be like, and he was just like, I knew it through Spider-Man. And Happy says, I did too. And when he left, and Happy was like, it was nice to meet you, and he says, yeah, see you around, I really expected him to say, see you around, Happy, and then blah blah blah, but he didn't do that. So,
but you see, they're setting up that means that we're going to circle back to Happy too.
Yeah,
I think it's all going to come back around.
Yeah. So then let's talk about that. First end credit scene. So the first end credit scene is Eddie Brock sitting in a tiki bar, and he's having a conversation with the bartender, and also with Venom in his head, and he's learning about this world. So apparently what happened at the end of Venom, Let There Be Carnage, if you guys haven't seen it, they've gone away, they're sitting on a beach, and they're in a hotel room, and all of a sudden there's this flash of light, and they don't know what happened, but all of a sudden this news article or news report is on the screen, and this is when the news is breaking that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And what Venom does when he sees it, he was like, "Oh, I know that guy." And everybody was like, "What?" But of course, he had just told Eddie that all of the Venoms all across the universes, they share memories. So he was like, "Yeah, let me show you a little taste of what we do." And so Eddie got to see a little bit of that. We don't know what he was shown, but this scene happens, and then we pick up with them, and apparently that was the moment that Doctor Strange contained the spell, but some of the people who knew Peter Parker got through. And of course, since Venom knows Peter Parker, a Venom, yeah. So
because he says, "I know that guy."
He said it. So Eddie is at the tiki bar, and the guy is talking to him. So he's like, "So let me get this straight. So there's a billionaire who flew around in an iron suit and da da da," and the bartender does, the sign of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, because of course, Tony Stark is dead. And then he says, "And then there's an angry green monster, Hulk." Okay, a Hulk. And then tell me about the purple alien who likes jewelry. Who likes
or stones. He likes stones.
So
I'm telling you, aliens don't like stones. They like brains. They like to eat brains.
Right. That's what he's telling. And apparently, I guess they're drunk because Venom stands up. He's like, "Yeah, we're drunk, blah, blah, blah." And then something starts happening. He's like, "Oh my God, what's happening? No, not again. We just got here." And they disappear. So apparently this is the moment where Doctor Strange has closed up everything and made everybody forget about Peter Parker. But what happens is they focus on the bar, and there's a little bitty black spot on the bar, and then it starts moving. So there's a little bit of Venom still there.
Little dab will do you.
I mean, that's all you need, right? Just a spot. Michael, why are you raising your hand?
I have a theory.
Of course you do. Okay. We knew it. And Anthony said it when we left on Thursday. He said, "Watch, Mike is going to have a whole slew of theories to talk about."
And I do. I got them. I got a ton of them. Okay. So now we saw that the Venom symbiote is now officially in Tom Holland's universe. So it's going to need somebody to combine with. Now, assuming that the Time Variance Authority doesn't show up with a sponge and sop them up and throw them away, there are a couple of things that could happen. First, it could bond with Tom Holland, and we could get the black Spidey suit like they did in the first run of Spider-Man, where that nobody likes, where where Toby's like, doing the dance and all those
and
stuff.
Wearing the black guy liner and
exactly. But there is one more possibility that could happen that I think is probably a slightly more likely. The symbiote can choose Flash Thompson, and this is canon, and he could become Agent Venom. And that's what I'm predicting. Again, I think that the symbiote makes its way to New York City. I think that it's going to bond with Flash Thompson, and we're going to see Agent Venom at some point in the next Spider-Man run.
What do you think, Anthony? I see your face.
No comment.
I mean, it's something that it's just kind of because you always
interesting theory. Interesting theory.
Yeah, whatever. I'm just saying. Because I think that it's going to have to bond with somebody or it's going to die. So it's got to figure it out somehow. It's got to figure.
If anything, it's going to still have a little bit of a knowledge, and it's going to seek out Peter Parker because it knows Peter Parker. So it's going to go bond with him because there was a version where it was bonded with him.
Right.
Yeah. So
or it could find this universe's version of Eddie Brock, which could exist as long as it's not Topher Grace or anyone else dorky. I swear to God, if they do that shit again. But I digress. Yeah, but I still think
in most instances, it bonds with him first.
Right.
And it's just that I think in that Eddie Brock's universe, I don't think there was a Peter Parker.
There wasn't a Spider-Man. Well, I mean, because they were in San Francisco. Because and Peter wasn't in San Francisco. Yeah, but I can go along with your theory. That's fine. I mean,
it's not.
I can combine your theory with my theory, and then we could both have a theory.
Because it seemed like that's a big jump to go straight to Agent Venom, considering all the history there.
You actually have that actually is a pretty good point. So it probably would have to go through at least one. We want either Parker or Eddie Brock before it gets to Flash. So I'll give you that. That's
like having an X-Men movie. It's like having your first X-Men movie, and then Professor X turns into Onslaught. It's like, oh wait, how do we get there? You know?
Yeah. Okay. You make a very good theory. I'll go along with that.
It's not a theory.
That's 100% theory.
I'm being critical of your theory.
Okay,
that's fine. Like I said, I'm fine with people being critical of my theories. It's not going to stop me from making them. It's not going to stop me from talking. I'm still going to make theories.
It's okay.
And
it's called deflecting from any supposed theory that anyone might think I have, because I obviously do not believe in theories anymore.
Whatever. So let's talk about the second quote unquote end credit scene, which is actually the trailer for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Ooh, I
Wanda.
Can't wait.
We got Wanda.
We did get Wanda, but we also got some other stuff.
Got America Chavez up in that beast. We got Mordo coming back. Mordo with cornrows.
I'm gonna kill all sorcerers. Mordo. Ned better watch out.
Ned better watch out. Yeah.
Ned might be in trouble.
We saw Christine in a bride's dress walking down the aisle while Doctor Strange was watching, which is weird. We
saw buildings turning into ink, just like in the What If. I was like, ooh.
And not only that, we get what we think is Doctor Strange Supreme at the end of the video, at the end of the trailer. I was looking
at are they going to give us exposition? Like, what about people who didn't watch What If?
No, like, that's why we're telling people you need to go watch What If now.
No, I'm saying, this is what I was worried about. Like, are they going to do this in the movie? And are they going to is it just going to be for the What If people to know that that's Strange Supreme, or the people who don't know, who didn't see What If, are they going to be sufficiently informed as to what the fuck is going on?
I think they probably will, but I think at this point, this is just my personal opinion. I think you have to watch the Disney Plus shows, because think about it. When they start the trailer and he finds Wanda and she looks at him and she was like, I made a mistake. I heard a lot of people. He says, I'm not here about Westview. If you haven't watched WandaVision, you're not going to know what that means.
Like,
so I think at this point, we have to assume that the Disney Plus shows and the actual films are going to be now a shared universe, because again, same with Captain America 4. When Sam Wilson shows up as Captain America, people are going to need to know how that came about, and you're not going to know that unless you go back and watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Unless they put exposition in the movie.
That's why
I think that scene when they look like the ink blots, I think that was part of a flashback for Strange Supreme.
Yeah, but to me, I don't understand. I don't see,
because it's essentially following that same logic. Then people would have needed to know they needed to watch the first 5 Spider-Man movies in order to understand what was going on in this Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
But we didn't know that beforehand, because there are a lot of people who didn't watch the Andrew Garfield movies. And there are a lot of people who didn't watch the Tobey Maguire movies.
Those people didn't watch them because they didn't want to watch them, myself included.
That's the same. But I think
anybody who's a Spider-Man fan who has heard any of the rumors leading up to this film probably knew, okay, you know what? Maybe I need to make sure that I'm caught up on all the Spider-Man. Like I said, I had planned on catching up.
You're expecting yourself from others. We can't do that. You can't do that. And we got to do a podcast about this, because we could go on all night. Because
there are the nerds, and then there are regular people. We're not talking about the regular people. We're not.
I'm talking about the regular people.
No, we don't do that here. Regular people don't matter. No, I'm just joking. But no, I mean, I think at this point, the MCU and the Disney Plus shows, they are a shared universe.
They are,
and
but I'm saying how much of that they're going to cover for the people who aren't watching Disney Plus, because there are people who just on principle are not going to pay for Disney Plus.
Then they should
just gonna be just leave them out, right? Just forget them.
I mean, this
is
just how I feel, because I feel like if you've already explained all of these events in one show or in one entity, why would you waste money re-explaining the same stuff that you can just go take your 2.5 hours and go watch WandaVision and you'll know exactly what happened there. You can take
I'm just being Mephisto advocate. I'm just trying to do the other side.
No. Mm-mm. They need to watch. They need to go ahead and watch and just
I like that.
Caught up. I mean, I'm sure they'll probably put a little bit of exposition in there, but if I have to sit through a whole hour of exposition explaining something that I've already seen, I'm gonna be pissed, because that's gonna be a waste of my money. You don't want to spend $6.99 for a month to get caught up on all these shows, but you're gonna go spend $17 on a movie ticket and then be like, oh, what's happening? What's going on? No, fuck that. I said what I said, and that's the hill I'm dying on.
You snooze, you lose. Knowledge.
In other words,
comprehension.
Behold, Strange Supreme.
Man. And when I tell you, he looked just like the cartoon, he looked just like the animation.
Holy
and
shit.
He came in, he was like, yeah, I was like
with the sunken eyes and everything, like, man. Bro.
Things are about to get interesting.
Because yes, also, is it just me, or when he was fighting in the street, did he also have tentacles coming out of his arms? Yeah. Go watch What If. Go watch What If before you watch this movie. I mean, the movie's not even coming out until March? So you have some time. The What If episodes are only 35-40 minutes long. Just stop being lazy and go watch it. And then
take 30 minutes.
Where was Uatu this whole time?
We don't know. Well, Uatu doesn't get involved. So supposedly.
Exactly. Was that he will not interfere unless he has to. And then,
he was probably looking at all that like, oh, Dr. Strange got this covered. We'll be all right. So.
So, and then when we see Strange Supreme, one of the times, the reveal scene, he's not on Earth. It looks like they're somewhere in another dimension.
Yeah, it does look like that.
It looks that way. It's like, did he get bored of watching that little thing with them fighting back and forth? He just, or I think maybe Dr. Strange went there for help.
Well, I mean, it did look. I mean, looking.
I'm not gonna jump to he's being the bad guy.
Right.
I mean, we know he doesn't always have good intentions.
Right.
He has good intentions, but he goes about it the wrong way.
It seems like from the way that the trailer started, you kind of hear this voiceover talking about what's happening. He was like, I think he said something about, I was just trying to help. I wasn't expecting it to go this far. And, again, that could, given what we just saw in No Way Home, that could tie directly into what he did. He was trying to help Peter at first, and then he kind of broke reality. He fixed it temporarily. He put a Band-Aid on it. And then at the end, it broke again. And yes, he was able to fix it by making everyone forget about Peter Parker. But that, what was it that Lizard said? Whenever you try to
fix something, there will be consequences.
Mm-hmm. So it could be that, even though, just like when he contained the spell at first, he said, yeah, I contained it, but apparently a few people still got through. Could be the same with the second time, like you fixed it, but maybe you didn't fix it completely. And now this is whatever's happening in Multiverse of Madness is the result of all of that. And then again, we don't know what else they're going to reference in Multiverse of Madness, because if you watch all of the Marvel, the Disney Plus shows, I don't think there's a specific point where we can say, okay, this is where the multiverse broke, because think about it. You have Wanda, what she did in WandaVision. You have what happened in Loki with them killing He Who Remains. You have this that happened in No Way Home. Like, really? And then you have what happened in What If. So at this point, we really don't know what specifically broke the multiverse. It could have been anything that happened in any one of those shows or movies. We just don't know at this point. So maybe they're going to pull all of that into the movie somehow. Like they could reference all of that to explain how this happened and what's going to happen next.
I have no theories. Right. I don't have a theory at all. I really don't. But if I had a theory.
Okay. If you
all right, OJ.
If I had a theory, I would say Wanda finds out about the multiverse. Is like, wait a second, I can get my kids.
Oh, definitely. You know that's about to happen.
That would break the multiverse.
You know
that's why she's helping him.
Yeah. If I had a theory, that's what Mike would say.
Especially since she heard her kids calling for her at the end of WandaVision. You know, she was sitting there with a book and she heard, "Mom, help us." She's like, "Oh, wait, what? They're still out there somewhere." So, yeah,
it's be another multiversal war, and Kang is gonna come up somewhere and try to reign supreme. Wait. That's not a theory.
Quantumania.
Oh yeah, when does Quantumania come out?
Like
is that before? Okay.
Is it 23?
I thought it was next year.
Is it late next year or early 23?
Look it up real quick, Anthony, because I'm trying to figure out, is it coming out before? I think Doctor Strange is coming out first and then Quantumania. So maybe what happened?
23.
It's not coming out.
It's July 28th, 23.
Oh wow.
Okay.
That's like over a whole year.
That's a year and a half.
Doctor Strange.
Okay. But we do have other.
They got a lot of stuff planned in between, though. I mean, they got a full schedule. Yeah. Like a full fucking schedule.
Yeah. So okay. Oh. Spider-Man No Way Home. Boy, this movie. Fucking amazing.
Yeah, this is awesome.
It was great. It was
spectacular.
Yes.
Very good. Spectacular and amazing. Okay.
Well, a guy on the elevator said he thought it was somewhat above.
Yeah, he did. He did.
We got an elevator. It wasn't you, huh? Someone else said that was amazing, and then someone said that was spectacular. He goes, I thought it was somewhat above.
Yep. That's okay. It was great. I can't wait to go see it again. So I might try to record the reactions again tomorrow, because like I said, the only one I got was when Toby showed up. But I do want to see how other people react. And I hope I don't get people who laugh about the whole Gwen Stacy thing. I just thought that was so tasteless. Like, why are you laughing at him because he lost someone? Like, oh, that was horrible. That was just horrible.
Actual, yeah. Okay, real quick. Shout out to the scene that I was looking for that I kind of got. Like, I was expecting, like, you know, the memes where it has the old Spider-Man cartoon where they're pointing like this. I kind of got that when Ned was like, Peter, and they were like, yes. They're like, me, him, wait, him? You talking to him? You talking to me?
Oh, Peter Parker. Wait, we're all Peter.
We're all Peter Parker.
That was awesome.
They also did it kind of sort of on the Statue of Liberty when they were talking about Peter 1, Peter 2, and Peter 3. Like, they were all sitting there like, yeah, I was like, I said, but somebody should have put that, like, that meme should have been in the movie. Yeah. That would have been so great.
Yeah.
We got
shout out to them, the whole conversation of them fighting aliens, where Toby said, yeah, I fought a black goo alien, and Tom was like, yeah, I fought aliens like here and in space, and Andrew was like, I just fought a guy in a rhino suit.
He was like, and then he was like, I'm so lame. And then Toby was like, hold up, we're gonna dial that back. You are not lame. You are amazing. You are amazing. I thought that was so
that scene that was funny because they built him up. They're like, you're amazing. You have to say it. Say it. I'm amazing. And then later, Max says, oh, you're not the she anymore. Right after they built him up.
And the like, way that he was like, oh. It was just like, I'm telling you, this is one of the best movies. Like, oh my God.
Also, real quick, a tidbit about Feast where Aunt May worked. That's actually in Marvel. She worked there, and Miles Morales actually volunteered there too. So there also could have been a chance where we could have seen Miles walking around in the background. And also the criminal called Negative Man used it as a front for his criminal empire. So there's a chance that if they include Feast in it again, that they could include him in that as well. Was I the only one who got John Walker or Cap in Civil War vibes when Tom had the glider and was gonna like impale Goblin with it? I was like, yeah, I totally got John Walker Cap vibes with that. Okay, so real quick. I thought about it, so I kind of put together a rough top 5. In my opinion, this is my opinion, everybody. Opinions are those of Michael Collins, not a Fandom Hybrid Talk podcast. Honorable mention goes to Infinity War and Civil War. Those are 7 and 6 for me. Okay. I couldn't get them in my top 5. Number 5 is Iron Man, only because that was the first intro, and it was a really perfect introduction to the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. Number 4 for me was Black Panther, just for the impact that it had for community for the Black community, and that's how great a movie it was. Number 3 is Shang-Chi. Well, it had the same impact for Asian Americans, but it's just the story it told for me was a little bit better. Just how they told it. Number 2 is No Way Home, because it's just an outstanding movie. But I mean, for me, nothing beats Endgame. Yeah. I can't do it. I can't put anything. I can't put it above Endgame, just because there were more holy fucking shit moments in Endgame than there were in No Way Home. It is close. It's really close. So I mean, that's my top 5, and No Way Home is just fire. I mean, it was such a good movie. I really want to watch it again, like badly.
I think for me, like I said, I posted my top 5 Thursday night. So right now, No Way Home is it for me. And like I said, I think it was just the combination of all 3 Spider-Man, it was just the way they played off each other. I think that was just the emotional impact of that on the film kind of did it for me. Shang-Chi, for the same reasons that you said, because of the cultural impact on Asians. Go Asians. Avengers Endgame, because of just the wide scale of that whole thing, and nothing, I do love No Way Home. I do think right now it is top for me, but nothing I think in cinema history or future cinema would ever beat that end scene. Like when from the moment we see Cap pick up Mjolnir, I think that's like one of the greatest things in cinematic history as far as the fan reaction. And like, I've never experienced that ever in a theater before that, and I probably will never experience anything like that again on that scale. So that's number 3. Black Panther is number 4 for me. Again, cultural significance for African Americans, and just that world building that they did. And then 5 for me is still Winter Soldier. It's still in the top 5 for me because of that story, and just kind of how it that story with everything with Bucky and what happened, it just kind of opened up a little the MCU a little bit more as far as what really was going on. And the whole thing with Hydra infiltrating SHIELD, a lot of that kind of came from that as well. So yeah, those are my top 5. Do you have yours sorted out yet, Anthony? Or are you still like debating?
No, I mean, I'm always gonna Black Panther 1, cultural significance, emotional impact, um, the sheer fact that it was a mainstream big movie production from a huge studio that people of color had significant contributions to. Like number 2, Shang-Chi, same reason. Number 3, No Way Home. Number 4, Civil War, Winter Soldier, and then number 5, Endgame.
Okay.
So we've all pretty much got the same film.
It's the same 5, just in different order.
Yeah, I think the only difference was Mike had Iron Man in his. So, but yeah, okay. So we're all on the same.
Yeah, I mean, and mine probably will change like from time to time. It just kind of depends how the wind blows.
But I think too, that's what it's supposed to do, because these movies are supposed to get better. So we're supposed to be constantly changing our top 5, because I mean, the grand scale of these films, if you kind of fall back from that, then it's kind of like, what are you guys doing? You know, but I'm expecting, I can't wait until we get Doctor Strange. I need to see where this multiverse is going. And I need to know who these people were that were trying to come through. I just need to see where it's going. I really want to catch up with Wanda again and see what's going on with her and how she's dealing with the after effects of everything that happened in WandaVision, and what this movie is going to mean for her character moving forward. I'm just ready for it all. But again, I feel so sad right now that our Peter Parker is no longer part of the MCU, because no one remembers him now. So that makes me sad, but
he gets to go off and have his own adventures.
Well, yeah. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know when we'll see how that goes, especially considering, Tom Holland has said in interviews in the last couple of days, like he doesn't know how much longer he plans on acting. Like at some point he does want to take a break from it. And
really, then why did he sign that freaking movie deal with Sony?
Straight cash, homie.
But I mean, think about it.
Wait. You can't sign a 5-movie, $20 billion deal and be like the next day, hey, I don't think I won't be able to do this.
Is it 5 movies for real?
I don't know how many movies.
It's 3 or 5.
It's multiple movies.
Yeah, I know it's going to be at least 3, but I mean, think about it. He might not be the star of those 3. Like you said, they could use this time to pull in Miles Morales. They may do something. I mean, we don't know.
He put his name on the contract. That means he's going to be in the movies.
Oh yeah,
he could be in it, but he's probably. I mean, it could be another where he's just like a tertiary character.
No, his agent would let that happen.
If he doesn't want to do it, because that's one thing I'm getting a lot from the interviews he's done just in the last couple of months, where for the first. I mean, he's only really been doing the MCU thing now for like 6 years. And he says that he is such a people pleaser that he got to a point where he was saying yes to everything, to the detriment of his own comfort, to the detriment of his own health. And he's getting to a point now where he's starting to prioritize, his personal life. And
I don't have a problem with that. I'm perfectly fine with that. Just don't sign the multi-movie deal when you're feeling that way.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, but again, we don't know what that multi-year, multi-film deal means, because they could put that in there and it might not be as major as we think. So, we'll just have to wait and see.
Because I know they get burned out. That's what happened with Chris Evans. He's done with doing that stuff, and
and that takes a toll on your body as well.
Yeah,
especially when he does a lot of the stuff, as far as the acrobatics and all this other stuff. And he says that he was talking about
it's a lot.
Filming the movie Uncharted, and he was like, that movie broke me because of all the physicality of it. So we'll see, but
he's gonna go from one franchise right into another.
Well, yeah.
Uncharted's gonna be crazy.
Hopefully he'll dip his toe back into the MCU every once in a while. Maybe they can find a way to make that happen. I would love to see that. But yeah, I will be watching this movie multiple times just because it was so fucking awesome. Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. But any final thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home?
No, I think I got it all out.
You might.
Yeah.
I'll save some for Kacey and Lori.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad they stuck with just the 5 villains and they didn't try to force another villain in there, like force Vulture in, or force like another tertiary character in like that. I'm glad they didn't. They just stuck with some of the ones that we knew.
I do have something to say. My final thought about this movie is, if you're going to do fan service, this is how you do it. Like it was a part of the movie. I mean, there's some stuff in there that, yeah, you didn't have to do it, but you did it anyway, and it worked. It wasn't like blatant or misplaced. It wasn't something outside of the story. It was a part of the story and part of them being together. And I thought that, if you ever see fan service done well, this is fan service done well.
Okay. I agree with that. So that's it for our discussion on Spider-Man No Way Home. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fandom Hybrid. You can find us on YouTube, also Fandom Hybrid Podcast, and on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.